3 bags of Miracle Grow 3/4 cubic foot garden soil for just $10 too. Valid through 2/18, excludes Hawaii while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
All right, John Schaefer, Sammy Long, San Diego Sports 760. Day one of Padres Spring Training is now officially here and in the books. We're going to react to it. There's a lot to get into. Let me share my morning with you, Sammy. Okay, and our listeners. You ever have one of those days, and now it's a little different with you because you've got a noon show, so you can't completely lose track of your morning because you're going to have to get here. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah.
I guess you could start your day early and then be like tied up from like 7 in the morning till 11:30. Like, man, I raced in here and had so much going on. But I mean, this is neither here nor there. Whatever. I'm just going to start here. We have 4 hours. I mean, Lord help us. But so I go to the dentist. I hate the dentist.
Let's see those pearly whites. Looking good.
I think most people don't. I mean, it's pretty easy to not like the dentist.
Yeah.
It's not the dentist's fault. I'm saying in general, I do not like the dentist. And I think a lot of people are the same way.
It's not a fun appointment.
I put up with it. You know, you're there. It's an hour. Is there anything worse than the sound of the scraping on your teeth?
Oh.
Like seriously, is that not?
Yes, yeah.
That's not like fun, right? Does anyone enjoy like that process?
It's funny. I don't mind the scraping as much.
You don't like the electrical part?
I don't like when they shoot the filler in. You know what I mean? Like they put the paste on and then they blow the air on it.
Oh, you don't like that?
I don't like my teeth get sensitive.
Yeah. I hate that. Oh, is there anything worse also? Now, how about when they're like using some of those like apparatuses?
Oh,
and then it gets to like a sensitive area.
Yes.
You know, like, yo, bro, like these are my teeth.
Or how about when they prop your mouth open with the clamp?
I've never had that. Oh, because they're doing like cavity work or.
So I've had cavity work. And I had one dentist in Los Angeles who would talk to me. They're shoving all this in your mouth. You can't talk. Like,
how about the Lakers?
Literally, I'm like trying to talk and I'm like spit. It was bad. I was like, this is. I don't know if they were new. Like you're just supposed to be talking to your dentist, the entire time.
I'm always amazed when they're like, oh, what are you doing today? I'm like, trying to get out of here. First of all, and my dentist, for whatever reason, I won't mention them by name, takes forever. It's a routine cleaning. I'm like, how can you take 2 hours and 9 minutes? Like, we have jobs. You can't take 2 hours. Anyway, so this isn't even the point of the point. Here's the point. So I go in and they're like, can we take your blood pressure? I'm like, sure. Why? I'm in a dentist. Like,
yeah, that's
kind of a weird request, but sure. So they take my blood pressure. They're like, your blood pressure's high. I'm like, not exactly shocking, honestly.
Yeah.
Just in general with our lives. So I'm like, well, that's interesting because a couple of weeks ago I went somewhere and they took my blood pressure. It was like a chiropractor. Don't even get into that. And the guy's like, your blood pressure is a little high. But I thought nothing of it because normally my blood pressure is low. Not even normal. It's normally low. So his first guy tells me, I'm like, no, you're wrong. Like you're a chiropractor.
Right. Yeah.
Like this is what you do for a living.
You're not even a real doctor.
Yeah. It's like me telling you, like, yo, you better save 30% back for taxes. Like I'm not an accountant. You know what I mean? So I didn't care. But then I go, now this woman tells me my blood pressure is high. So now I'm putting 2 and 2 together. And she's like, next time you see your physician, make sure to let them know. Well, I'm a hypochondriac. So the second I leave the dentist, I call my primary, which I never do.
I'm the same as you.
So I call him like, yo, my dentist said I have elevated blood pressure. Like, can you come here in 45 minutes? So now I'm running from the 2-hour dentist appointment to the Perlman Clinic. Okay.
Shout out to the Perlman Clinic.
So I show up at the Perlman Clinic and they're like, do you know you have then she's doing the thing with the thing. What's the thing with the thing where they put the stethoscope?
The stethoscope. Yeah.
And then she's like, do you know you have a heart murmur? I'm like, Lord help me.
What?
I'm like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I know that I know. If my mom's listening right now, she's going to freak out.
Yeah.
Because I knew that I knew. I think I knew that I had one.
Okay.
And then she's like, well, let's order this. She's like, you're probably fine, but we got to order this. And then they take my blood pressure and like, oh, your blood pressure is elevated. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm here.
Because I'm nervous right now.
That's why I'm here because the dentist just told me to come here. Anyway, now I need to check my blood pressure every day for 2 weeks.
Really? But can I tell you, so I had a similar thing happen. I was at the doctor, riveting radio for those at home, Sammy Long's doctor appointment. Yeah. But a week ago, and it's where my blood pressure was normal. I was laying down, they had me check my blood pressure. Then
you were laying down?
They had me lay down, they're like, check my blood pressure, normal. Then when I stood up, it spiked to like a crazy high thing. And then it went down after a minute. They're like, that's weird. I go, it is weird. Why are you? I'm like, I don't know this. You tell me what's going on here. So it's whenever I stand up, my blood pressure spikes. They don't know why.
Well, that is odd. And I can't diagnose that. I'm not certain.
Just sit forever.
Yeah, I know.
Just stay lying down. Do the show lying down. Anyway, it's a long way of me saying that, what are you supposed to do? This goes back to Brent knows this. There's been probably 3 times since I started working here in 2017 that I've ended up in the ER because I thought I was having a heart attack.
Oh, was it the one time it was like indigestion or something?
It was nothing. It's never been anything. It's never been anything. So, but like also you don't want to just kill over and die from a heart attack.
Right.
Like I'm in my 40s, you're in your 20s. Like in your 20s, there's a 99.99% chance you do not keel over and die. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like, what are the
very
odds?
rare.
I mean, can it happen? Sure, you get hit by a bus. Like anything can happen. But by and large, 20-something-year-olds, regardless of their shape that they're in, you're going to survive it. You could be overweight in your 20s. Now it might catch up to you in your 30s and 40s.
Right.
But you can survive it by and large in your 20s. But you get into your like late 30s. Still, there's not a lot of people, I don't think, in their 30s having like a heart attack. But you get into your 40s, certainly people are keeling over, man. They're dying left and right.
Mrs. Schaefer, we will have the ambulances here in case anything happens. We're watching it.
Right. So, I mean, again, it's a little bit of like a hypochondriac, but when someone tells you have high blood pressure or like all of a sudden your heart is racing, what are you supposed to do? Just like,
calm down.
Just get through it. Like, well, I've got like a wife and a 6-year-old. I'm not just going to like die. I mean, I may, but I'd like to prevent it from just occurring if I can. I
was thinking about that too, about how it's funny how now, because like 30, 40 years ago, I wasn't alive, but I feel like there wasn't as people didn't have as many, like, I go to the chiropractor, I go to my ear, nose, and throat doctor, I go to these specialists. If you go to enough doctor appointments, you're going to find something. Like, you're going to be like, oh, this is a little off. I feel like you don't have ignorance is bliss, like, by not going to the doctor. Like, I don't want to be promoting not going to the doctor.
No, I see what you're saying though.
But like, I feel like I've been like totally fine before, and then they go to the doctor, they start reading all this stuff off, and you're like,
great point.
Like, now I'm kind of concerned about it. Like, now I'm thinking about whatever.
To your point, they say if you did an MRI on every pitcher in baseball's elbow, if you did the MRI on every pitcher's elbow, you'd find something. Like, there'd be something like, oh, there's fraying of the ligament, or there's a partial tear, or there's, I don't even know what, you know what I mean? It's almost like, don't go looking for it until you need to. Like, everyone's going to have to deal with, your job is to use your arm. So of course your arm's going to look a little different than a guy that's an accountant.
Right.
Like,
you're going to have some wear and tear on your shoulder.
Shoulder and elbow should look a lot better and more intact than like Joe Musgrove's. Right? I mean, of course.
We have some people on YouTube. We got a Manny McNuggets take beta blockers. Hans, water fasting, water miracles for blood pressure. Steven's telling me I'm normal for my heart rate spiking.
For lying down and then standing up.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, I don't even know the point of what I'm trying to say. I'm just, there's a 4-hour show. And anyway, after all of this, so no joke, dude. I drop off Jones for school. I go to the dentist. So first of all, I dropped off Jones. School starts at 8. Then the dentist was 9, but I'm like, well, I'll just go. It's like 20 minutes away. I'm not going to go home to then go 20 minutes. So I get to the dentist, 10 minutes early, whatever. Then I spent 2 hours at the dentist, as if like, I'm the president of the United States, and like they need to make sure my teeth are perfect.
Yeah, you gotta look good for camera.
And I don't even know if they do that with the president of the United States. Then
he won't wait in line. He'll be done in 20 minutes.
I know. Then I go to the doctor, who's telling me, this, that, and the other. Then after all that, I ended up buying a pair of pants because of the shop. So not that I'm wearing right now. And then I'm like, just forget it. Like, it's one of those days that just got away from me. And then all of a sudden it's 1:30 and here I am.
Listen,
getting ready for the show.
In the words of David Lee Roth, it's better to look good than to feel good.
Yeah, exactly. After all this, I'm like, I didn't realize it was in the shopping center. I've been looking to buy a pair of pants.
That's where the stress came from. Guys hate buying pants. You went through the stress of trying on pants.
This is supposed to be the week that I'm like stress-free. Aztecs are off.
Yeah.
Pitchers and catchers reporting. You could never be stressed out.
Stupid heart rate.
Catchers report.
Or stupid blood pressure.
And then the blood pressure, and I'm trying to think about why my blood pressure is elevated.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah, all the pressure leading up.
Got to get a card. Got to get flowers. Man, so anyway.
You're healthy, though. You're vegan.
I mean, that's the thing. That's what doesn't make sense. Like, if I have high blood pressure,
That's
and
probably why.
Seriously, dude, if I end up dying from a heart attack, or if I end up dying from high blood pressure,
everyone else is screwed.
That's bogus, because then I feel like everyone should be dead. Yeah, exactly. Because I don't eat anything. Like, the worst thing I eat is like trail mix with M&Ms. Every once in a while I'll have a Snickers. But like, I eat like salads and like rice and tofu, and like, that should not kill you.
Are you going to be on your deathbed and be like, I wish I ate more steak?
No, because I'm going to be pissed. I guess if I ate more steak, I'd already be gone.
I know it's going to come back to bite me. That when I was going to San Diego State and my parents were living in another state, I was living by myself with a friend. So I didn't really cook ever. So I had a steady diet
eating out, right?
Every night.
Maybe you're 20.
Either El Pollo Loco or Chipotle, rotating every single day. So I hope to God El Pollo Loco and Chipotle, they got the preservatives out of there.
Pollo Loco's got broccoli as a side dish. That's
Dude, there's people that eat ramen for 9 straight years.
Yeah,
you
know
what I mean?
College students.
Yeah, exactly. They're called doctors, like in medical school. So that goes back to my initial point. In your 20s, in your teens and 20s, you can get away with anything. You can buy the whole pizza at 2 a.m. after a night of drinking. You could eat 3/4 of this pizza, and you can wake up the next day and be like, I don't feel great, but that was a fun night. You try pulling that off at 45, you will end up dead. Like, you will have problems if you try doing that at 40. So like, what you do at 19 doesn't by and large catch up to you. 29, I still think you're good. All of a sudden, there's gonna be like, 35, 39, 40. Now I'm 45, and it's like, dude, I can't even like go to the dentist anymore.
That's what I'm surprised that they took your blood pressure. Like, that's I never had that happen at the dentist.
Well, that's a great point. It's like, why did they even do it?
Brad, have you ever had that? Have you ever had that at a dentist?
No.
You know the other thing, real quick, and then I promise we'll get to sports today at some point. Here's the other thing that I was thinking about when I went to the dentist. It's like, how many people don't go to the dentist?
Tons,
right? I mean, a lot of people don't go to doctors because they're fearful of what the doctor's going to tell them, right? Like,
I barely go.
But you go enough that basically you're almost required to at our place of employment from the doctor, because if you go to the doctor, you can get like better insurance premiums, right? Or something along those lines.
Something like that.
So anyway, the point is, like, sometimes I'm like, well, why am I even going here? Because I don't want to go. Because every time also I go to the dentist, like, oh, are you flossing? I'm like, yes,
dude.
I'm like, and then how about this? Do you know, how do you brush? I'm like, what do you mean? Why are you asking me now how I brush? I'm 45. Like, dude. I turn the thing on, I hit the button, I put the bristles over my teeth. I don't know. Do you want to come over and show me what I'm supposed to be doing?
I had a dentist not too long ago that she asked me that same question. Yeah. She goes, do you floss? I go, yeah, once a day. She goes,
oh, show me how you floss.
She goes, sure. I'm like,
I do.
If you assume by my teeth that I'm not flossing, why are you asking me if I'm flossing?
Yeah, they do the same thing to me. I'm like, not only do I floss, dude, hear me out. This is probably 2 or 3 years in, going long to talk about floss. I not only floss, I also use that like picker thing.
Yeah. Okay.
There's like the ones that like go between your teeth, not even the ones that look like you poke up in your teeth, but the ones that like go through your teeth.
I know what you're talking about.
And they're like, oh, you need to do a better job of flossing. I'm like, well, then you need to come over to my house, because I don't know. I can't deal with this. All right. On the other side, reaction to day 1 of Padres Spring Training, what Craig Stammen had to say about where the Padres are. We're going to hear from Craig Stammen on the state of the rotation as well. Stay with us. This is San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. So someone just called in, John Schaefer, Sammy Long. So I'm always amazed by this because you spend one segment talking about the dentist. I mean, that is kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you.
We're mixing it up.
But, you spend it's a 4-hour show. All right. You got to settle into it sometimes. You spend one segment talking about your personal health history. And that angered one of our listeners so much that he had to call in and voice his frustration with it. It's like, literally, if you've been listening to this show, like me with Jim over the years, or now me with Sammy, we spend so much time on sports. You know me specifically. Like, I'm very rarely completely off subject.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, for me to just like, quote unquote, like go on a tangent like that is very rare. And I'm like, would I do it if the Padres traded Manny Machado today?
No.
Would I do
nothing
it if
going
the
on
Chargers
today.
moved to El Paso today or San Diego? No. You know what I mean? But like, we got time is my point. Like, relax. If it's so upsetting to you, then start your own iHeartRadio.com/careers. We're looking for someone. So if you want to work with me and talk sports, then go online and apply for the job.
Like Aaron Rodgers said, just relax.
Just relax.
Everything's
man.
fine.
Did Aaron Rodgers say that? I don't want to quote Aaron Rodgers.
No, he did. He did.
Even spelled it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You spelled it.
All right. Here are some updates from Padres Spring Training on what is truly day one. Like yesterday is like, when you go to school and they give you like your syllabus.
Right. It's not really
day one of school, like high school, and you have gym and they just like throw the basketballs out there, but there's no like team activities and it's not overly stressful. So that was kind of yesterday at spring training. And today it's like, okay, you got players that are reporting, you got guys hitting on backfield, you have pitchers throwing side sessions or bullpens. So a couple of the takeaways today from Craig Stammen. Actually, let's hear. We have the audio from Craig Stammen. This was Craig Stammen, a little bit of a back and forth on where the Padres are with their rotation, a follow-up on Randy Vasquez. Let's listen to that and then react to day one.
The state of the rotation, I feel like, is we got good pitchers, so that's always good, and we got good pitchers to choose from. Obviously, it's headlined with Joe, Nick, and Michael. Feel good about those three, and then there's competition for 4, 5, 6, and 7.
What do you view what Randy did last season, the way he progressed as the season went on, the way he kind of started to miss bats at the end? How did he kind of throw himself into that mix and that conversation this season?
Yeah, I think Randy, you can look at all the underlying statistics and say, he's due for some regression and all that kind of stuff, but there's also like being able to get out of those situations that we should give him credit for that also. And him ending the season with an ERA, I think, under 4, like that's not easy to do in the big leagues. So, obviously he's probably got the inside track to one of those last 2 spots. He pitched great for us last year, and especially how he ended the season. That's kind of what we envisioned for Randy, getting better as he's gotten a little older and gotten more opportunity. And he showed up to camp in great shape. He showed up to camp looking a lot like that guy in September.
All right. So that was Craig Stammen on the rotation. There was one thing in there that I found fascinating. So Craig Stammen on day one of spring training there was almost honest. He said, hey, Randy Vasquez, some people might expect a regression. Based on the way he pitched, right? He like got out of a lot of spots with men on, with runners in scoring position, like to his, and he said he deserves credit for that. But like he acknowledged the fact that Randy Vasquez may take a step back because what he accomplished last year was almost, it was impressive considering the circumstances that he put himself in. So that again is a little bit of a breath of fresh air for me to hear that from Craig Stammen, but he acknowledged what we've been saying, which is they've got a good front of the rotation and then they have question marks in the back of the rotation.
Well, I think the same applies to, hopefully not, but Nick Pivetta. Nick Pivetta had about the best season you could probably ask for. I mean, if you would have told people when AJ Preller signed him to that 4-year, $55 million deal, that at the end of the day, he'd become the frontline starter, I don't think a lot of people would have believed you because Pivetta was a late, February signing, and not that he was a bad player, he just wasn't at that level. So you're expecting, if he comes back to the mean a little bit, you'd love him to duplicate that season. And to the point about Randy Vasquez, you have another guy who probably overperformed. The metrics tell you that through a lot of the season, he got bailed out with you can't just keep putting runners on base and expecting that it's not going to come back to bite you. That's why I agree with Stammen in the sense of I like the Padres rotation right now, the top 3 in a vacuum. You said this yesterday. In a vacuum, it's like, the playoffs started today and everyone was healthy. You go, all right, you got 3 frontline starters. You're excited about that. But to expect that one of these guys is not going to get hurt through the remainder of the season. I mean, Remember last year, Darvish, they were like, he's going to be ready for opening day. Then all of a sudden it was a couple weeks. Then it was months on end. Michael King got injured, kind of a freak accident. You're going to have injuries, and you can't, in all honesty, be relying on Randy Vasquez and JP Sears and Waldron, these guys, to carry you through an entire season where you're kind of on the cut line of the playoffs, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like from everything that Stammen said today, including right there what you just heard, is that Vasquez clearly has like an inside track to a rotation spot. Of course he would. I think it is earned based on what he did last year. Well, it's twofold. He earned it, and they don't have better options. They haven't gone out and addressed starting pitching by and large. Now, I credit them for re-signing Michael King. Where would they be if Michael King didn't return? Because consider when Dylan Cease signed with Toronto for all that money, right? With Toronto, whatever they paid him.
210, I thought.
And I'm like, oh, there goes Michael King, because he has now set the market so high. I thought that was an overpay by Toronto. I'm like, well, clearly King's going to get half that, which would have put him over 100. And I'm like, the Padres are not going to be involved in that. And then they got him for 75, but they really got him for 25 because it's a series of 3 1-year, $25 million deals. Now they did sign King, so there's no point to go down the path of what if they didn't. I guess if they didn't,
but to your point, it wasn't looking like they were going to sign him per all reports before they did.
So, and they still need starting pitching, even with King coming back, even with Musgrove coming back, even with Vasquez in your rotation, even with Pivetta. That's 4 spots with real question marks, and they still need starting pitching. So, like, Craig Stammen went down a little bit of a path like, hey, I really like our rotation, but he also acknowledged the fact that it's more the top of his rotation that's the proven entity, and it's the back of the rotation. We don't even know who they're considering right now for spots like 5 and 6. And you need 6 starting pitchers in a year. You probably need 7 or 8.
Right, and the Padres don't have the capability of what the Dodgers did last year, which is they put Blake Snell on ice, they put Tyler Glasnow on ice.
Roki Sasaki
missed a lot of time. I mean, they just kept them kind of on ice and geared them up for the postseason. You're going to need these guys, and you don't want to burn all their arms off, especially with Musgrove coming back from injury. You want to bring him along slowly. Best case scenario is those 3 carry you through the season. What are they come playoff time? You got to get some depth there alongside Randy Vasquez in the 4th and 5th spot.
All right. Other notes from Craig Stammen's meeting with the media earlier today. We'll share with you on the other side. You're going to hear from Colin Cowherd coming up. He eviscerates the Lakers. Even though they played nobody last night, everyone was out. He absolutely eviscerated the LA Lakers. You'll hear from Colin directly coming up. Also, the Pac-12 will unveil its 2026 football schedule, of course, after our show. Coming up tonight at 6:30, a Pac-12 After Dark edition of a schedule release. But we're here until 6 p.m. Don't go anywhere. It's San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by Positive Coaching Alliance. Diamondback star outfielder Corbin Carroll broke a bone in his right hand and will undergo surgery later today, leaving him out of the World Baseball Classic and in question to be ready for opening day. Carroll broke the bone during a live batting practice session yesterday. He joins Mets shortstop Francisco Lindor and Baltimore second baseman Jackson Holliday on the list of players who all suffer from the same bone injuries early in spring training. The Aztecs are off until Saturday, but you can catch Brian Dutcher Coach the show tomorrow night when John talks with the head coach about last Saturday's win and previews this upcoming Saturday's game. If you have any questions about youth or high school sports, Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA delivers better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
All right, San Diego Sports 760. We do have a Brian Dutcher show for you tomorrow at 6. I'll sit down with the head coach of the Aztecs. We'll get you ready for Saturday's big game against Nevada at Viejas Arena. It's the Brian Dutcher show Thursdays at 6 on your home for the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. There's a big Mountain West game tonight, actually, New Mexico and Grand Canyon. It's so funny how I look at college basketball because, like with Selection Sunday, I don't know, 30-something days away, I tried to get a bracketologist. I'm having an impossible time getting a bracketologist. I don't know why. But the way I watch college basketball is I'm like, well, I hope that team loses. And I hope that team loses because it's like I'm watching it through the prism of like being on the bubble, which is an impossible way to watch basketball because you're never going to get the results you're looking for. It's like, oh, I want these 11 teams to lose. Yeah. 3 of them might, you know what I mean? But then 8 of them don't. And then you're like, oh, it's a bad result for San Diego. You almost can't worry about it. You start worrying about what Miami's doing against UNC. Like, just stop. You just got to concern yourself about beating Nevada on Saturday. It starts there for San Diego State. All right, here's some storylines coming out of day 1 of spring training. And let me find them real quickly. All right. So remember the Padres signed Sung Moon Song? Mm-hmm. Well, he's been dealing with an oblique injury. Okay. So healing, but dealing with no oblique. We talked about Randy Vasquez. It was confirmed today. I don't think this was shocking. Mason Miller is going to be their closer. How about that?
That's a smart move by the Padres.
What do you think of that? The Padres have determined on the first day of spring training that Mason Miller will close for them.
I like that.
So that makes
Step
sense.
1.
Let's see what else. Health-wise, by and large, heading into camp, knock on everything, they're fine. We know how that plays out, though, over the course of the year. I didn't hear this directly, but I see here that according to at Talking Crypto or Crypto Friars, Ben Fadden, Yu Darvish is trying to teach Randy Vasquez how to be the Dominican Yu Darvish. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. What do you think? What is the Dominican Yu Darvish?
Yeah, I don't get that at all. So
what does that mean? Like be as good as Yu Darvish, but happen to be Dominican and not Japanese?
Right. Is this in reaction to the comments we heard last segment from Stammen talking about if coming from Yu Darvish and then Stammen, it sounds like internally they believe Randy Vasquez is due for a major step back. Looking at remember last year, all Mike Schitt would ever talk about was their own metrics. The Padres have their own metrics that they use versus everyone else.
Right.
So yeah, that's great. That's awesome if Yu Darvish can help him out. But Randy Vasquez, the way it's going now, is going to need to be a major part of this rotation. Ideally, he becomes less of a part of that rotation. He's the 5th guy, and you sign someone who's the 4. But yeah, right now, hopefully Yu Darvish can pass on some wisdom to Randy Vasquez.
70470 started with team. What does that even mean? So you're asking Randy Vasquez to become the Dominican Yu Darvish. I don't even understand it. It's like, okay, Randy Vasquez was fine last year. Yu Darvish in his prime was one of the best pitchers in baseball. You're asking Randy Vasquez to become Yu Darvish in his prime?
Yeah, I'm about to say.
Just be of Dominican descent, not Japanese descent. So I don't even understand that. Now, I do think Randy Vasquez, what's interesting is, some people are like, oh, that was lightning in a bottle. We should be thankful that they got through the season with him pitching as effectively as he pitched. I would argue that there's some reasons to believe he could probably take a step forward. Another year of seasoning in the major leagues, another year working with Ruben Niebla. He's not old. The pitching numbers usually bear out very well in San Diego. Petco's a pitcher's park. So
he also, and to be fair to Randy Vasquez, who gets a lot of flack because he's not always the quote sexiest pitcher to watch. It's always a little bit of a tough watch because you're allowing runners on everything. he did get them through a large part of that summer when it looked like the rotation was completely lost. I don't think they're in the playoffs without some of Randy Vasquez's performances in the middle of the season.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I completely agree. So in terms of like day ones, I think it's what you would want out of it, which is like nothing. Like you don't want day one to be like, oh, by the way, I'll give you the example. Tatis a few years ago, they get to spring training like, oh, by the way, he broke his wrist. Remember, because he had spent that off season where he was in like a motorcycle accident, and then people saw on Instagram that he was wearing like a brace. He didn't even, now I don't remember the exact timeline, but he basically didn't even tell the organization, or he led the organization to believe that he had sprained his wrist or he was okay. And then he gets there and you got two problems. Not only did you break your wrist, you broke it months ago. It was set improperly. They had to go in.
Right. It could have been halfway healed.
It could. Yeah. So it was a true and utter disaster. He lied about it because he waited all that time. So that's what you don't want to happen, obviously, heading into camp. Sometimes you get the good vibes heading into camp, which is like Xander Bogaerts has decided he'll move positions for the betterment of Ha-Seong Kim. And it's like, oh, we're starting off with good vibes. And like, these are team decisions. I don't know what the vibe is right now heading into camp. I think I'll get a feel for it over the next 2 or 3 days as we hear from Stammen. We'll hear from Kevin Acee. The position players will report. Manny Machado will speak. AJ Preller will speak. I don't know what the vibes are right now, but again, from a day one perspective, you just don't want the surprise, I guess, the negative surprise.
Yeah, I don't. It's funny. We were talking about this earlier, Fletch and I. It didn't feel like, the vibes feel, I guess, good.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of a whatever take, but it feels like, I don't think they got worse. I think they are certainly a team that's going to be in the picture once again. I think there's also the flip side where you look at whatever you think about Arias going to the Giants, whatever you think about Arenado going to the Diamondbacks and Burns coming back. I know Carroll got hurt today, but he should be good to go for opening day. Maybe you look at it as just the division got better along with the Dodgers. So maybe you have a tougher time, but we talked about with the four big problems. You had, where's the lack of an extra bat? You had where's the fifth starter at?
Yep.
And then you had the Preller contract and the ownership. Well, the ownership, that's out of hands. And the bat, I think, is a less pressing problem. You could really get this thing done in a day. I think the Preller contract would be good PR for everyone. Everyone would go, great, we got a GM. And if you sign a fifth starter, I think people are starting to get really excited about the season versus kind of tempering expectations about what this team can possibly do in the future.
I will say this. So within the last 20 minutes, it was reported by the Philadelphia media that the Phillies have told Nick Castellanos to not report because they've had all this tension this offseason between the two sides. Like, is he going to be traded? Is he not? So that's no longer like an amicable situation. So the Phillies have told Nick Castellanos not to report. And according to Matt Gelb, who's covered the Phillies for a long, long time, a resolution, whether by trade or release, is expected in the next 2 days. Now, that's interesting because the Padres are looking for another bat. DH, right? Like, now he's a veteran piece that really did not have a good year last year. We talked about Nick Castellanos within the last couple of weeks.
And if you could sign him to the point, like
if he's released.
Because I remember that we were talking about it was they're going to want some prospects, and we know the Padres they don't have a single prospect in the top 100. I believe Salas fell out after being at 90. So trading for a 33, 34-year-old who's coming off of not a great season isn't the best outlook. I think that deal would come with some question marks. But signing Nick Castellanos, a guy who, by the way, to be fair to him, has been a big postseason contributor for Philly over a lot of these years, even over some of the big bats, he's kind of been the guy that's come through in clutch moments. So signing him would be, I think that people would really welcome that with open arms. That'd be fantastic. But we'll see if he ends up actually getting cut or traded before then.
I mean, to your point, if he's traded, now all of a sudden you owe him what he's owed and you're giving up prospect capital. If he's released, it's like manna from heaven because, it's just like you don't have to give up any prospect capital. You can all of a sudden now sign him to I don't know what he would get. I mean, does he get a minimum deal because he's been released and he's still owed what he's owed by the Phillies? I don't even know how that would work. But if there is a scenario where Nick Castellanos isn't moved, I would think he'd still be able. I would think the Phillies could move him, although he's owed a lot of money. So who are they going to pay a portion of that down? The answer is yes. Will they pay that down? Yes, it's Philadelphia, big market. They have money. Pay it down, get a return. Don't pay 100 cents on the dollar. Pay 75, get a return. If you're the Padres, would you take Nick Castellanos at a 75% discount?
Totally.
For a couple of prospects? Yeah, I think the answer is yes. So that's an interesting story that we can follow here over the next day or two.
And you feel like if you're from Castellanos' perspective, you look at San Diego and go, if it is a minimum contract, if it is a kind of buy low candidate, it's a great spot. I know it's a pitcher friendly ballpark, but you're not supposed to be the guy. You're playing with Machado and Tatis and Merrill, and Bogarts kind of gets a lot of the headlines, a lot of the negative headlines. You want a minimum contract on a very low deal. You could kind of resurrect his career looking to go elsewhere the year after, but you're also on a good team that does have a shot, not going to the Marlins or some team that is kind of, you're going to go to irrelevancy. I think it makes sense from Castellanos' perspective.
All right. The latest on that on the other side. Plus, we're going to hear from Colin Cowherd. He eviscerates the LA Lakers after their blowout loss last night to the San Antonio Spurs. We're here until 6 p.m. Stay with us. San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, back with you on San Diego Sports 760. What do we have to give away today? It's like everything must go. You want this chair in the studio? No, we've got tickets to the Aztecs against Grand Canyon. That's going to be in 6 days, next Tuesday. So we'll give away tickets to see the Aztecs coming up. We have Charlie Puth tickets, April 22nd. Also at Viejas Arena. So we've got a pair of really good giveaways for you here today. If you missed our conversation with Jon Canzano, I want to bring that back as well, Brent, at some point here today, reporting on the Pac-12's schedule release. Now, I'm a schedule guy. I love scheduling. It's a very weird thing to love. Like a lot of people love like animals.
I'm with you. The NFL
you like schedule. Yeah, you love the NFL schedule.
The NFL schedule release is like a party holiday in my house.
Because you want to break it down, be like you already know the opponents for the Chiefs,
right? Like
they already have listed the opponents somewhere, right? You have your 6 division games, so 3 home, 3 road, and then you've got the 11 additional games.
And you know the divisions you're playing, right?
So like you already know, I'm making this up, that the Chiefs are going to be playing, let's say next year, the Jags.
Yeah,
I'm making it up.
Yeah.
But does it say home road already?
Yeah, it says home road.
So you actually know the home. But is it like, hey, do you open at Jacksonville? Do you close there? Do you have 2 straight road games to open the year, or 2 straight roads to close? It's funny,
and you see like especially in the NFL and college football, but really in the NFL, you see the chunks of your schedule. You can break it down in terms of months and like if you want to go to a game. I'm with you. I love watching scheduling, and the Pac-12 drop theirs.
Yeah, so the Pac-12 tonight is going to drop their football schedule. You're going to hear more from Jon Canzano on it, but what they're about to do, Sammy, is something that is actually unprecedented in FBS football. This happens a little bit in D2, D3, actually, but the Pac-12 has 8 teams. So San Diego State only has 7 opponents in football. There's 9 teams in basketball because of Gonzaga, which allows you to play 8 opponents home and road in basketball. That's 16 games. But for the sake of this conversation, okay, 7 opponents. Well, you play 4 out-of-conference games, and typically, it's certainly like the G6 outside the power leagues, you play 8 conference games. Well, how do you play 8 conference games if there's 7 opponents?
Yeah.
So what they're going to do is leave the last week of the regular season open. It's not going to count towards the league standings. You'll have played your 7 games, which means you'll play everyone once.
Okay.
Someone will be 7-0 theoretically, and someone 6-1. There's your championship game. It's San Diego State, Boise State. What they're going to prevent against, because every team has already played each other, they're not going to have San Diego State and Boise State play again in the final week of the regular season if they're going to meet in the championship game. You can't meet 3 times. It's absurd at any level of football. So they'll then mix it up. The other thing they can do by flexing the last week is, let's say Boise's undefeated, or let's say San Diego State has the inside track to the college football playoff if they win out. They're 11-1 with no bad losses. Well, now all of a sudden you could give San Diego State in the final week not a tough opponent, but an quote unquote easy opponent, because you want them to maintain their positioning towards the playoff.
Or will it go? I'm curious. This is a shot in the dark. Will it go the other way if a team like San Diego State has a shot at this thing, and you go, they might need a couple more signature wins on this thing? Will they schedule a tough game for them?
Yeah, exactly. So like that's what we expect to be announced later tonight, like the particulars there. And a lot like the NFL, we already know who San Diego State is playing in football next year. You want to know who they're playing? Look at the Pac-12. That's who they're playing. Colorado State, Boise State, Oregon State, Washington State. Like, that's who they're playing. We don't know home road, and we don't know order. And we're going to find that out at 6:30 Pacific. It's Pac-12 After Dark schedule release. Now, on the basketball side, what's really interesting, I love basketball scheduling, because like San Diego State can play like Arizona and Michigan in basketball, right? Like or 2 years ago they played Houston. They beat Houston. Like it's so impactful to get to the NCAA tournament metrically. Next year, the NCAA is going to allow you to play 32 games overall.
Okay.
Right now it's 31, and San Diego State typically plays under the number, or around 30, let's say, in the regular season. Well, next year they're only going to play 16 conference games because there's only 9 teams in the league, 8 opponents, 8 times 2, home and road is 16. They now have 16 out of conference opportunities. That's so many games. It leaves you so much creativity. Non-conference games in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego, Pacific Northwest, Phoenix. I mean, you could do anything. Like, the world is your oyster, and San Diego State basketball has been so prominent and successful. I think they'll have some opportunities, whether it's like home and homes, neutral court. And the reason I bring it up is, like, for example, John Rothstein today saying Gonzaga is going to open next year against Purdue in Vegas. in a doubleheader that also has Arizona UCLA on the first night of the college basketball season. Or yesterday during the back page, we mentioned this, Sammy. Villanova, did you see this on social media last night? Villanova and Notre Dame are expected to open next year in Rome.
Oh,
because
yes.
the Pope is a Villanova alum, and they're going to open the season November 1st in Rome. So I'm not saying, hey, Aztecs go to Rome, but I do think because of the flexibility with the smaller league, they have all kinds of opportunities.
And we've talked about how, and we all know Viejas Arena is one of the premier spots in college basketball, regardless. But because of that, I think you've seen some out of conference teams be hesitant to schedule to come to Viejas Arena because they know it's a tough place to play. San Diego State may not be ranked in the top 10, but everyone who watches college basketball knows it's a legit program who's got some real, national credibility recently after the run of the championship game and the multiple Sweet 16 appearances. But teams welcoming San Diego State at home, I think people or in a neutral site are going to be very down with that because you are getting a big time program that you can try and notch a win against, but you don't have to go to Viejas Arena, which on the flip side is good for the Aztecs because you look at in a year like this year, the Mountain West isn't as deep as it has been in previous years where you think that there's countless opportunities like the Big 12, the ACC or the SEC where, I mean, you could have a terrible week and make it all back in 1 week later because you're playing top 10 teams in the country. It's a real opportunity for the Aztecs to be able to schedule, to your point, go out to Phoenix, go out up to LA, go wherever you want to go and really kind of make your hay so if the Mountain West is down a little bit, you can kind of make your signature wins elsewhere and not just rely on not the Mountain West, the Pac-12 now to kind of carry that in terms of metrically.
I think the basketball league is going to be amazing. I mean, you could actually win a national championship in basketball with Gonzaga, San Diego State in the same league. Like Gonzaga's been close. San Diego State 3 years ago was close. Like I would not be shocked at all. Now, again, it is hard with NIL and rev share and the way the revenue disparity is. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy, but there is a path where in the next 5 to 10 years, Gonzaga's back in the Final Four, San Diego State's back in the Final Four.
Totally.
Right? It's a lot harder in football.
In Gonzaga, what's been the thing with them? I mean, what's their big game? Is St. Mary's? I mean, that's
in their league. Yeah, exactly.
In their league over the years, it's been like Gonzaga kind of runs through everyone.
Now they get Utah State and San Diego State and Colorado State and Boise State.
You get legit program. I mean, you have two national legit programs, San Diego State and Gonzaga, supplemented by everyone you just listed off. That's a fun basketball conference that I think is gonna really kind of compete up there with some of the top that we see now.
If you're an Aztec fan, again, the football schedule will be released tonight at 6:30. San Diego State's first year in the new Pac-12. Sammy, thanks, man, for hanging out.
You're the best, brother.
You're back tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Friday, you're on the road.
Friday, I'm on the road.
All right, Sammy's back here from 2 to 3 tomorrow. More on this with Jon Canzano, who was the first to report on the Pac-12's idea to flex the final game of the regular season in football. So we'll hear from Jon Canzano. We'll hear from Colin Cowherd. He eviscerates the Lakers. You'll hear that coming up in the 3 o'clock hour. We have Aztec basketball tickets to give away. They're taking on Grand Canyon next week. Hour 2 coming up next on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Diamondback star outfielder Corbin Carroll broke a bone in his right hand and will undergo surgery today, leaving him out of the World Baseball Classic and in question to be ready for opening day. Carroll broke the bone during a live batting practice session yesterday. He now joins Mets shortstop Francisco Lindor and Baltimore second baseman Jackson Holliday on the list of players that all suffer from the same broken bone injury early in spring training. Tomorrow night, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show at 6:00. The head coach sits down with John and they preview this Saturday's upcoming game. For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
All right, back with you here on San Diego Sports 760. I'm working on YouTube for 1 second. Bear with me. All right, back with you here on San Diego Sports 760. We'll hear from Colin Cowherd coming up. We will hear from Jon Canzano coming up as well. Again, touched on this about 30 minutes ago, this idea of Nick Castellanos, who can DH, can play first base, and could certainly play for the Padres when you consider the circumstance that they're in. There was reports this afternoon from Matt Gelb, who covers the Phillies, that Nick Castellanos is persona non grata in Clearwater, which is where the Phillies train in Florida. And he's been told not to report to spring training. Well, you know what that means. They're working on resolution for him to be on his way out. And it's going to happen in sports. This isn't going to be the biggest story in baseball history. This isn't LeBron being told not to report to LA or something. I mean, there's other examples, or a quarterback, being asked not to report. So, all right. The marriage is going to come to an end. Castellanos, veteran hitter, down year last year, owed a lot of money. So the Phillies are going to have two options that they could probably pursue. I think the likely scenarios are they could trade him in that scenario, since he's owed a good amount of money. And I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say he's maybe owed 20 this upcoming year, or somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million. Let's see, he signed a 5-year, $100 million deal through 26. So just doing the math on it, that's 20 a year. So let's just assume he's owed 20, or roughly 20. Well, Phillies are going to have to pay that way down for someone to take, a flyer on Castellanos. Here's a guy that had a negative WAR last year, hit just 17 home runs, had an OPS on base plus slugging under 700. But if it gets paid off or paid down, if 20 becomes 5, if 20 becomes 4, if 20 becomes 8, then all of a sudden you'd think that the Padres would be a suitor. Now, the issue there is, if the Phillies are paying it down, they're going to want a return. The whole point of paying it down is to maybe get prospects back in return for you paying a good portion of his salary. So that's option one. They say, well, maybe because paying less makes sense, but do they have the capital to land him? I would say yes. He's a 34-year-old. He's not 27 anymore. But the ideal scenario, if you're the San Diego Padres, is the Phillies just release him. And if that happens, then you could potentially come to terms with him on more like, a minimum type deal, or somewhere close to the minimum. And now Nick Castellanos is making a couple of $1 million. You don't have to give up any prospects. And maybe, he has some type of bounce back year. He's 2 years removed from hitting 29 home runs. He's 3 years removed, I think, from hitting 34 home runs. So I think it's a conversation, Brent, worth having. And we'll see what comes next with Nick Castellanos and the Phillies first.
So say hypothetically, the Phillies call the Padres.
Yeah.
Do you just say no and roll the dice and hope that they're just going to release him and then you can just sign him and then you don't have to trade anything? Or do you try to lowball them and make some sort of trade in fear that some other team with way more money than us is going to come out and just outbid just because they can?
That is a very good question. I think a player of Nick Castellanos' caliber, if you don't trade for him, I'd be concerned somebody else would. Now, it's a game of chicken or poker. Doesn't mean that would happen. I mean, maybe other teams are thinking what the Padres are thinking, which is like, it's not worth giving up any part of our future for this 34-year-old hanging on that could help us for a year. And I would probably tend to agree with that. Now, the Padres may say, well, it is worth it if they're going to pay $18 million of the $20 he's owed. So we're going to pay him $2 million. So maybe for $2 million, it is worth giving up some prospect capital to do that. So there's a little bit of like a game of poker in there that you need to figure out. And also, I don't know what happens if he's released and it's out of season, does he end up on waivers? And I think the answer is no. I think he becomes an outright free agent. I could be dead wrong on that. I'm speculating on air because the point is in a waiver system in season, you don't even have the right to sign this player if you're not up next to the waiver process. Yeah. So you got to wait in line. If you're not waiting in line and you can just go to him and his agent and try to come to terms, that's very favorable potentially for San Diego. But if there's a waiver process that plays out, it would be less favorable.
The other thing is we're always talking about, influences in the clubhouse and everything else. He's, the Phillies aren't letting go of him just because they don't think he can hit anymore. He's become disgruntled. Are you worried that he's going to bring bad mojo to the clubhouse?
Juju or whatever?
Yeah.
Let me answer that for you. Your captain is Manny Machado. So like you're already you're rolling dice as you are.
That's kind of my point. Yeah. Do you want to dump a gallon of gas onto a fire or?
Well, I mean, I guess my argument would be if your boat already has a hole, like what's another one? So I mean, Machado, like it's not to be critical. It's not. It's just Machado does it his way, and when it works, it looks good. They've had good years with Manny Machado at the helm, and then they've had other years where it hasn't looked good. And Manny Machado has been at the helm. So it's like, yeah, could you argue like what played out in 2023 with Soto? Like that was to your point. It's like you had one too many type A personalities or disgruntled players or too many cooks in the kitchen, whatever analogy you want to use or cliche you want to use. I would think Castellanos with a change of scenery, I wouldn't be overly concerned on a 1-year deal that he would like sabotage your overall messaging. I'm more concerned. It's like, what does Manny say? What is this high school baseball? I'm more concerned with can Castellanos return to a level of form that he has enjoyed recently. Now, not last year, but he's not that far removed from being a very productive major league hitter with slug. What did the Padres lack? Slug. Now, he hit 17 home runs last year. That's not some gaudy number. And he did that in, 589 plate appearances. That's not a big number. Like he did not have a good year by any, stretch of the imagination. But, you go back to 2023 and, is that a while ago? Arguably, but it's not that long ago. He had a, near 800 OPS with 29 home runs. So like, can you get a player between those 2 years, between 17 home runs and 29 home runs? I'll take 24 home runs right now and a 775 OPS. Like that's a massively productive player for the Padres. Like there's not a lot of guys in this team hitting 25 home runs. Like this team was third last in baseball in homers hit last year. Like that's an indictment, and they can't have a repeat of that. The formula can't be, well, we can't hit for power again, so every time we get someone on, we're going to move them over and get them in, then hold a 1-0 lead. I mean, that doesn't work. It might work against Colorado and Miami in May, but it doesn't work as well in winning 100 games or winning consistently in the postseason. So they need slug. And it's like, well, how are you going to add slug? They don't have the ability to do it. Well, maybe this is the type of player you're looking for. You're betting on, it's a flyer deal. You know what he's capable of. You don't want to break the bank doing it. You don't want to give up a lot of capital in order to do it. Like, to me, it's the home run, not the home run like, oh my gosh, you've signed Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker's the true home run, but they were never in the market for Kyle Tucker. So in what they're seeking, this is the type of player that is checking boxes for me. And that's why it's at least, I think, something to really consider if you're a Padres fan. I mean, I don't know how realistic it is or not. I really don't, but I think it's at least somewhat realistic based on everything that we know right now.
Best case scenario, they would sign him on the cheap, and he would end up being this year's Nick Pivetta. To where
right, exactly,
someone that's been around the league for a while, that they kind of signed him for not a lot, and they weren't necessarily expecting a whole lot from. So anything that he does is going to exceed expectations. And, maybe he would be the steal that they've been looking for with all these guys that they can't afford and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean,
or he's going to be awful and everyone's going to be like, God, they signed another guy that's washed up.
Yeah. But again, it's like that's where it's worth the risk for me. It's like, if the risk isn't $20 million, you'd never give him $20 million. He's owed $20 million. So if the Phillies are just like, hey, you could have him for nothing, but you got to pay his salary, I'm out. Of course not. That's way too risky. But if the Phillies say, hey, listen, give us a mid-level prospect, we will pay 15 of the 20. You owe him $5 million and you're betting on the chance that he returns to form and can help get you where you want to go. And I'd be intrigued or inclined in that scenario. Now, I bet other teams would be as well. I think oftentimes with disgruntled players, you end up in a new spot and you can return to form to some extent. He's not 39. He's not 42. He's 34. I mean, Manny Machado's 30. Is Machado 34 yet? Turning 34, I want to say, this year in July, potentially. So, he's just a few months older than Manny Machado. He's not completely outside of those prime years. He might be on the edge of outside of prime years, but guys hit in the major leagues at 34. It's harder at 39. So again, it's like, what did Craig Stammen say yesterday? AJ's always got something up his sleeve. So he said that. Craig Stammen said that yesterday. And then you consider it through the lens of what's going on around baseball, what's playing out here. You have free agents that are unsigned, whether it's pitchers or position players. And then you have players that are already in camps that still could be on the move. And Nick Castellanos is exhibit A there. And if he's not reporting, it's going to get resolved very quickly. If the Phillies are telling him not to report, this isn't the AJ Preller contract situation where like, oh, we'll figure it out in 100 days. No, he has to be moved. That's the only thing that is possible. They have two options. You're not going to help us, trade you or release you. And it's going to happen soon because they don't want to deal with the animosity and the agents. And I mean, it's going to get resolved. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's resolved like tomorrow when it came to Nick Castellanos or today. And the way that Preller moves and the way, transactions happen in baseball, it wouldn't surprise me if it happened sooner rather than later. So now again, can he DH? Yes. Here's the thing with first base. And he's been an outfielder by and large in his career, but it's like they're willing to entertain anyone over at first base, haven't they been? Like this offseason, we've heard that they were going to move. Who were they talking to about moving to first base? Why am I drawing a blank? Who was it? Arenado? Yeah, it's like whatever. It's like first base. Like it's like the Scott Hatteberg conversation. That's first base. Luis Ariz, first base. It's first base.
It's easy. It's extremely hard.
Exactly. It's not easy, but you get the point. How many times have you heard me say over the last 4 years? It's defense. They have a good defense. Who cares? So what? You give up a run or a hit here and there defensively, but I prefer to have the offensive upside. I want the offensive upside. They're not butchers in the field. This isn't the worst fielding team in baseball. And Fernando Tatis Jr. on this team, and Manny Machado and Jackson Merrill, they'll be fine. Is my point. Now they need a solution at first base, and I'm kidding when I say figure it out. I get it. That's not easy. If someone said, "Hey, John, you've never done a TV sportscast in your life, figure it out." I mean, to me that would be overly challenging. But with time, could you do it? If Darnay Tripp came in here and did radio, with time, could he do it? Of course he could. Right, Darnay? Of course you could. All right. We've got Aztec tickets to give away for San Diego State and Grand Canyon. We'll do that coming up. We also have tickets to see Charlie Puth at Viejas Arena on campus at San Diego State on April 22nd. We'll give those away as well. Let's hear from Colin Cowherd on the other side. He has some strong thoughts on the state of the LA Lakers, which is kind of on cue because we were talking about this last night before the game against the Spurs. So we'll hear from Colin Cowherd. We're still going to hear from John Canzano coming up as well, with the Pac-12 about to release its football schedule tonight. This is San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. San Diego Sports 760 has 13 chances to win $1,000 every weekday. It's the Bonus Bucks giveaway. We just had a winner on this station 2 weeks ago from Michelle. You can enter to win every hour, 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. Listen for the keyword. This is all you got to do. You're going to hear a keyword, enter it at sportssd.com, and your next chance to win $1,000 is coming up at 4 p.m. So you'll hear a keyword, enter it at sportssd.com. You can do that every hour. We had a national contest winner right here. Michelle won in the 6 p.m. hour 2 weeks ago, $1,000 wealthier, thanks to listening to San Diego Sports 760. Now, what's interesting is yesterday we went on this tangent about the Lakers, just in general, state of the Lakers. Colin Cowherd, right here on 760, picked today to go all in.
He must have been listening yesterday.
He must have been. Well, he was here earlier, remember, because he's on the station, so we saw him on the way out. And the thing is, he picked an interesting time to do it. I mean, he goes all in on a night after they get smoked by the Spurs. Well, they didn't have LeBron James or Luka or Reeves. I mean, kind of easy to pick on them right now, considering the state of their team last night. But this is probably 3+ minutes, but I thought he makes some interesting points in here in general. This is Colin Cowherd today on the Lakers.
Last night, Spurs play the Lakers. 2 nights ago, it was OKC Lakers. So 2 truths were on display. Number 1 is NBA fix your product. Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves were not available. What a crappy product. You're a kid, you go to a game, you live in Palmdale, you go to one game a year, and you don't get LeBron, Luka. And by the way, the Warriors play tonight. No Steph, no Jimmy Butler. Butler's injured, but give me a break. Bad product. Here's everything in the NBA is a yeah, but. Oh, we got to go watch the team tonight. Yeah, but so-and-so's not playing. I mean, in the NFL, you always get the stars, right? And that sport, they tackle each other. Here's the other truth. Those new wealthy Laker owners, this is going to hurt for J-Mac. They have watched the last 2 nights. OKC come into town and the Spurs come into town. And those 2 rosters compared to the Lakers, depth, length, defenders, multiple scores, guys that aren't old and sleepy and can't play back-to-backs. Those rosters are the best 2 rosters in the NBA, and those new Laker owners are watching those 2 teams waltz into Crypto Arena, and the Lakers look a mile away. A mile away. And you could say, well, the Lakers got injuries. The new Laker owners own the Dodgers. The last 2 years, the 2025 Dodgers topped the record set by the 2024 Dodgers in pitchers used for a World Series winning team. The Dodgers have been beat up for 2 years. They're not interested in the excuses. Luka's 27, supposed to be in his prime. Why has his game gotten more cerebral than athletic? Why is he hurt so much? Because Wemby's not in his prime, 5 years younger, and he is a mile better than Luka right now because he actually plays defense, rim protector, runs the floor, does everything well. So those new Laker owners walked into this organization, and the last 2 nights, they have seen the league's truth. The gap, Wemby had 37 at half. He could have scored 70. He could have done whatever. They scored. What do they score? How many points they have at halftime? 74 points at halftime or something like that? I mean, Spurs were just doing whatever they wanted to. And everybody tells me about Luka, and I like Luka, but he's 27. The game's not as vertical. I'm sorry. He doesn't, once again, look to be in the best shape. So people say, well, the Lakers have cap space. It is not a transactional league like that anymore. It's a draft and develop league. Look at the Pistons. Look at the Spurs. Look at OKC, 3 best teams in the league. It is a draft and develop league. The sharp young GMs are crushing. So I got to tell you, the last 2 nights, and crypto is a perfect sponsor for the Lakers facility. Bloated valuation. Fool's gold. Buying into gold and purple. You know, in crypto, they call it a rug pull. They call it a rug pull. When the price craters, Lakers need a rug pull. Their GM, Rug Pelinka, he may need to get pulled. Lakers against winning teams, 11-13. Against winning teams, they're not good. Oh, they're unbelievable against the Wizards. So I said it yesterday. JJ Redick, love him. Luka, like him a lot. Everybody else, wrecking ball.
I mean, he might have been listening yesterday. Now, he went further. I don't think today is the day to do it. It's so easy today. They didn't even have Luka or LeBron. It's the easiest thing in the world to say today. He makes some interesting points, though. They're not good against good teams. Never the sign of a team that's expected to make a run. When you're not good against good teams, you can't expect that team to make a run. Now, is it possible because you have Luka and you have LeBron? Is it possible? Yeah, I do think it's possible. I don't think it's impossible. I just find it unlikely. And then what's the conversation next year? Well, they're going to build it all around Luka. Well, then they better win like that. And all of a sudden, they better look like Oklahoma City or San Antonio once they get that, money freed up and have money to spend on a roster and build the thing around Luka. So, again, is the timing right to eviscerate the Lakers? I don't think it is, considering their health. And it's not like they're an abject failure this year. Okay, so they're under 500 against teams that are above 500, and they're the 6th seed right now in the West or whatever it is. It's not like the thing is going completely off the rails, but are they going to get the thing to the Western Conference Finals? The season's kind of is closer to ending than starting. They've played over 50 something games, so we'll see.
I think the one thing I kind of agreed with Colin, where he was kind of hinting at it, was you guys knew what your upcoming schedule was. You knew that you had a home games coming up against the Spurs on national television. You knew that you had a home game coming up against OKC on national television, Peacock. And right before that, you had another nationally televised game against the Warriors. You don't think you could have maybe saved Austin Reeves, sit down game for tomorrow when they played Dallas, who isn't any good, and then you could have played them when they're on national television playing these elite teams, because it kind of kills the matchup of, you're like, oh well, it's
Spurs,
OKC,
Lakers.
yes, Spurs, Lakers, Thunder, Lakers, this could be a great matchup, and then it's like, oh, never mind, because they're not playing anybody. It's like, why don't you don't need LeBron and Austin Reeves, like he was saying, when you play the Wizards. So sit them when you play the Wizards instead of playing them against the Wizards, so you can brag about LeBron almost getting a triple-double against a team that would struggle against, a handful of college teams this year.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I liked what Colin said about, what he said about, hey, there's you and your family go to one game. You live in Palmdale. You get there. Where are these players that I've grown up watching? Where are these guys? It's a very good point, and it's a big problem for the NBA. It really is. All right, Jon Canzano at 4 p.m. on the Pac-12 football schedule that's getting released in 3 hours. We're going to give away some tickets to see Charlie Puth coming up on the other side. This is April 22nd, Viejas Arena at San Diego State. So we'll give away a pair of tickets to see Charlie Puth. On the other side, the wrap is still ahead. You'll hear from Jon Canzano. We're here until 6 p.m. This is San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Diamondback star outfielder Corbin Carroll broke a bone in his right hand and will undergo surgery today, leaving him out of the World Baseball Classic, and he's going to be in question to be ready for opening day. Carroll broke the bone during a live batting practice session yesterday. He now joins Mets shortstop Francisco Lindor and Baltimore second baseman Jackson Holliday on the list of players who all suffer from the very same bone break in their hand. Tomorrow night, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show at 6:00. John talks with the Aztecs head coach about Saturday's upcoming game and more. For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you're not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
All right, Brent, you just mentioned the Corbin Carroll injury. And my mind goes here. First of all, there's a lot of injuries right now in the sport, and the sport hasn't even started.
And they're all the same one. Because all three of those guys all broke the exact same bone. Yeah. Yep. I didn't want to try and say that all day. That's why I just went the cliff notes on what bone it was.
It's been a problem in baseball. And I think there's sometimes like you kind of can wear something that can protect against it, and it's still happening. So it's become a bit of like an epidemic, let's just say, in baseball. But here's where I think a lot of people's minds go. Here's Carroll, who's played a lot of outfield in his short major league career. Very good player, obviously. He's played a good amount of center field in his major league career. He's also played in the corners. I mean, if they call Jackson Merrill, are you cool with him playing on the WBC team? And the reason I bring it up, they already have 8 guys, I think, 8 or 9. And that's going to be par for the course with the 30 clubs in baseball. There's going to be 7, 8, 9 guys, right? I mean, there's teams all over. So each organization is going to have a number of players. There's no organization with none. It's not like one organization has 30. So everyone's got, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys, whatever it is. So the Padres already have 8. Would you like to see Merrill on Team USA? On its face, sure. It's Team USA. It's a young star. Why the heck not? Now, the counterpoint would be, he missed a lot of time last year. He never fully got into that, I don't even know, groove. He did at times. His first 10 games, remember, they gave him the contract extension. He was unbelievable. He got out of the gates as well as anyone in the sport. And then there were highs and lows and setbacks and injuries. I just, on one hand, sure, it's Jackson Merrill playing for Team USA. On the other hand, you just don't want some type of setback. We're talking about injuries that would impact his 2026.
For me, it depends. Is he going to actually play?
Right.
Or is he going to be the equivalent of Jason Tatum on the, Team USA that year when, he played like 2 minutes, like the whole Olympics?
That was the last time, right?
Yeah. So if he's just going to be the Jason Tatum of the team and not play, then I'd rather he just not go, because he'll get more use staying here, and he'll get more. It'll benefit him more just to stay, opposed to going there to pinch hit maybe once or every other day or something.
Yeah, I want to say I'm with you, because it's not like they're playing a million games. So you better start, because if you're just going to sit, I mean, what's the point? You're going to miss 3 weeks of camp just to be on the team.
Yeah, nobody remembers that Christian Laettner was on the dream team too. I don't want him to be the Christian Laettner of the WBC team.
No, it's a good point. So, like, again, on one hand, you're like, oh, that's pretty intriguing. And I don't even know if he's being considered, honestly, or not. I have no idea. But on one hand, you're like, wow, Jackson Merrill starring for Team USA, potentially leading them to a WBC championship, very likely, or possible, I guess. That's pretty intriguing. On the other hand, it's like, well, we all watched this 2025, and it was start and stop. It was not a bad year. I don't look back on Jackson Merrill's last year and be like, oh my gosh, what a completely wasted year from Jackson Merrill. I don't think that's how I would refer to it. 2.7 WAR, good year. Hit 264, solid. On base plus slugging, 774, good. OPS plus, that's compared to the rest of Major League Baseball, 12% better than league average. Good player, good season, 16 home runs. It's fine. But he had 24 though. Here's the thing, you say it all and you're like, good year. You compare it to his rookie year, everything was down. 4.4 WAR dropped to 2.7. The batting average dropped from 292 to 264. On base percentage dropped. Slugging percentage went down 43 points. OPS went down 52 points. So, he did not replicate his rookie success, which happens in sports, the sophomore slump, and he was dealing with injuries as well. I just want to see him get back to where he was, if not surpass it, sooner rather than later. And I don't want a setback, and I don't want something to prevent that from occurring. I mean, Merrill's still a very young player. He is turning 23 April 19th. He'll open the season as a 22-year-old, which means when he made his major league debut, he was 20, as we remember. But he'll open this year as a 22-year-old. You don't want setbacks with a player as young as Jackson Merrill. And I'm not saying he would have one just because he played 5 or 6 games for Team USA in the WBC. So I could be convinced either way is my point. I could say, yep, let's do it. It's going to be awesome. He's going to play. He's going to help this team win. Or I could be convinced, you know what? Stay in camp, stay healthy, hit the ground running, and hopefully put together a really good year in 2026.
What kind of thing would you be worried about screwing him up more?
Okay.
Leaving to go play in the World Baseball Classic or doing like the home run derby in July? Because people always panic, like, I don't want him to do the home run derby because everyone does that second half. Their season sucks because they're trying to hit homers the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the type of hitter that I would even consider being worried about right now with the home run derby. He's a good hitter, but he's not prodigious.
True, but the last couple of years, they've kind of been picking some dudes that's just like,
right.
Really?
You're right.
That guy's in there? He's got like 12 home runs the last 3 years.
What would concern me more? Probably the home run derby. Because the derby starts altering your swing, where WBC doesn't alter your swing.
It's just a game.
Yeah, it's just like my issue with the WBC is, to your point, like if you're out of camp for 3 weeks and have 4 at-bats, it's like, well, you would have had, you would have played 9 games. You would have played every other day you would have played 9 or 10 games. You could have gotten 25 or 30 plate appearances and you got 3. So now you're impacting timing, and now maybe you're slow out of the gates to start the season. And it's just like an unnecessary speed bump, where the home run derby is kind of tried and true, and somebody's going to struggle after it. It's almost inevitable that that's going to happen. I mean, what to ask of those hitters in the home run derby is absurd. If you think about it, those that are advancing through the rounds, like how many swings they're taking over the course of that event, all for television, which is great. I mean, it is good entertainment, and they're rewarded. I mean, the winners get money. I think second place might get money too. So there's a reason to do it. I think it's good for your brand and profile and all these things. But no, I'm kind of with you, where I think I'd rather have him play in the WBC than have one of my players hit in the home run derby. Like Tatis would worry the heck out of me in the home run derby. And we've never seen him in the home run derby. I don't know if we ever will see him. Like, what is it going to take for Fernando Tatis Jr. to appear in a home run derby? The most perfect half of baseball, but then we're all going to look at each other and say, don't do it. Like, you've hit 30 home runs and you're hitting 309. Like, don't do it. Don't mess with it. And then if he's not doing that, we'll be like, well, he hasn't had a good year.
I think if he has another scenario where he's just crushing it the first half of the season and everyone kind of, not to say they weren't in his good graces and everything, but kind of the people that jumped off the bandwagon might jump back on to where he might do it then, just because he's having, a great season and he wants to ride the momentum of what he's got and not wait. But yeah, I don't know. He's kind of tempered his ways. So, I used to always be worried about him doing the matrix slides all the time and about just getting hurt, just sliding and, trying to make, athletic catches and stuff like that. And they had their talk with him about, look, we need you on the field. You can't, go out there and be doing these crazy slides all the time because you're hurting yourself. So I don't know, maybe he could restrain himself in the home run derby. I don't know, call Pete Alonso. He's the expert. Ask him how he did it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. All right, we can continue the conversation on the other side. Plus, let's give away Charlie Puth tickets coming up next. We'll give those away coming up next. We've got 2 free tickets to see Charlie Puth, who did the national anthem at the Super Bowl. He'll be at Viejas Arena at San Diego State, April 22nd. In about 2 months, we'll give away tickets coming up on the other side. You'll hear from John Canzano, the Pac-12 about to release its football schedule for 2026. That's coming up at 6:30 tonight. You'll hear from John coming up at 4 p.m. Stay with us. San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. I got a text from Darnay last night. He's like, how mad are you that this Pac-12 football schedule release is coming at 6:30, 30 minutes after your show? I'm like, it's a fair point. I mean, typically when you release information to the media, like, think about this, listeners. How often does news break early? A lot. Now, not always when it comes to a trade or something that, I don't know, is out of left field, a surprise. But oftentimes when a media or when like a league shares news with the media or the media, they do it early because they want the whole news cycle. Like if you send out a press release at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern, people might talk about that story all day. Plus, you might get in the next day's newspaper. But when you release information at night, it's a little more atypical to do that. Now, we've seen some of these big moments like the Luka trade happen at night specifically. And there's a lot of things that have happened, obviously, at night as well. What I like about what the Pac-12 is doing, and again, Jon Castellanos, if you missed our conversation yesterday, you'll hear that coming up in about 15 minutes. They're leaning into Pac-12 after dark, as in there's a method to the madness. They're calling the schedule release Pac-12 after dark because it's at 6:30 Pacific, sun's down, 7:30 Mountain, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. So I think that's going to be like a theme of the upcoming year. Like they're going to lean into after dark. I like that. Like you think about the Pac-12, a lot of what comes to mind for people are those late night games that they've watched over the years. So Pac-12 after dark schedule release is coming up at 6:30. Unfortunately, we can't really react to it in real time because we're only on the air until 6 p.m. But certainly we'll react to it tomorrow when we're on the air.
Right now we have the Olympics on the TV, and about 5 commercial breaks ago, they played a commercial for USA Sports.
Saw that, and that is the Pac-12.
Yep, and they mentioned the Pac-12 in their promo for soccer and all the other things that they're going to have on USA Sports upcoming. So,
which is cool promotion for the Pac-12 because to your point,
Olympics.
Yeah, it's being aired during the Olympics. USA has had a long time tie with NBC. Some of that's changing moving forward.
Yeah, they're owned by NBC.
Yeah, and I think that they might be actually like spliced off at some point. But for whatever it's worth, again, we'll get the schedule release coming up in about 2 hours or so, or 2.5 hours or so. I thought this was an interesting point. We'll hear from Jon Castellanos again coming up in 10 minutes. And also we have these Charlie Puth tickets we'll give away in about 5 minutes. There's a really good follow. A lot of Padres fans are aware. Too Much Morton's on social media. And I thought he made a really good point about the 5th starter. I mean, we've hammered the point on the Padres needing a 5th starter for months on end. But like AJ Cassavell today at MLB.com wrote about the contenders for the number 5 spot in the rotation. And here's who he lists. And this is all you really need to know. It's J.P. Sears, Matt Waldron, Tristan McKenzie, and Marco Gonzalez. And then his basic point was go get someone, which is exactly right. Because like the dumb cliche, play dumb games, win dumb prizes, you are asking for trouble going into the year with this. I'm just telling you right now. You're asking for trouble, which means ineffectiveness, not reaching the heights that you would reach otherwise potentially. Like you could argue they need multiple starters. And if they go into it and this is your 5th starter plan, I'm not saying other teams don't do something similar because it's your 5th starter. It's not your 1st starter. It's not supposed to be, a $30 million spot on a roster, but you'd probably need more upside. We didn't even see J.P. Sears. It was a failure last year by and large. Matt Waldron, it's hard for me to be convinced he could make 30 starts in the major leagues. So yeah. And again, that's assuming the health of the first 4 in your rotation. Those are the players that are competing for the number 5 spot. So at the end of the day, you need to go out and start or find a veteran starting pitcher. And that still might not be enough, truthfully, depending on what happens with the rest of your rotation. But the bare minimum requirement is to go out and sign a pitcher. Now, I do think that's still the plan. It's February 11th. They've played no spring training games. Nick Pivetta was signed right around this time last year. This isn't late, really. I mean, it's late, but that's how baseball operates. I mean, a lot of transactions happen late. Manny Machado happened late. Dylan Cease's trade happened like the day the season started. So things can happen late. I don't think it's overly late for something like this to play out. And I'm convinced they'll make a move. Now, I'm not convinced the move is going to have the same impact as Nick Pivetta last year. That was an amazing move. Savvy, affordable, paid off immediately, right? So I'm not convinced that they're going to be able to do that, but I am convinced they need to try something to bolster this rotation, which is basically, I think, the story of spring training. Like maybe Nick Castellanos becomes a story or something to talk about over the next couple of days. Again, he's persona non grata at Philly spring training. He's being asked not even to report. They might trade him or release him in the next 48 hours. So that's a big story. And that would impact the Padres potentially if they could land him as well. But, again, you already know that in the lineup you've got Merrill and Machado and Tatis and Bogarts and Sheets and for me, like a lot of the lineup is shored up. There's always going to be some variance in your lineup. You've got 9 guys in it. So you're always going to have a question mark in your lineup. Your rotation doesn't have 9, it's got 5. And you don't want to go into the season with like lots and lots and lots of questions in your rotation. They don't have questions in their bullpen. They've got one of the finest bullpens in the sport, if not the best bullpen in the sport. But you got questions at the front because of injury, Michael King, Joe Musgrove. You have questions in the back because who is even in the back of your rotation? And again, a lot of organizations in the sport will determine their 5th starter during spring training. That is a very common practice in Major League Baseball. So I'm not faulting the Padres for having an open competition. Like that's very reasonable. I would just include another player from outside the organization potentially in that open competition. I would go out and use the resources, spend the money, invest in the pitching. We've seen it all too often. When you don't have enough starting pitching, it can be the difference between reaching the postseason or not. Look at 2021. Look at 2023. I think those are 2 classic examples.
I'm looking at the remaining free agent starting pitchers that are available.
Yeah.
There's not really much left. And the ongoing theme with all the remaining pitchers they are all over 30. Some more over the age of 30 than others.
Right.
But really there's, Walker Buehler and his skinny jeans, Tony Gonsolin, Herman Marquez, Marcus Stroman. It's just like nobody.
Guys that have their own questions.
Yeah, and nobody in here that's just like, oh wow, I can't believe he's still out there. We always bring up Giolito's still out there, Nestor Cortez, but it's just like there's nobody that's just like, oh yeah, we got to go get that guy.
Well, no, it's gonna be classic like buy low. You're buying for pennies on the dollar, hoping for it to pay off for you without the guarantee that it will.
Well, and then just looking at some of these dudes' ages too, I'm worried like they're going to go and get Chris Bassett, who's almost 38 years old, or Patrick Corbin, or they're going to go get some dude that instead of, taking a flyer on you run a Tristan McKenzie that they picked up
McKenzie,
on a relatively young to middle-aged guy that could have upside if he gets it worked out, opposed to going on some dude who's already, bought his retirement home and everything else, and he's on the downslope, like, spending money to get a 38-year-old starter that's on a downhill. I'd rather roll the dice and go with a younger player and hope that he can turn into something, opposed to just sign some old guy that's over the hill just to say now we got our 5th starter.
Well, you can now drink because someone has mentioned for the first time in 2026 at this point, just go out and sign Trevor Bauer. The conversation that has been playing out for the last half decade. Bauer has not appeared in the major leagues since 2021. I don't think 2026 is his breakthrough year with the San Diego Padres. We're going to hear from John Canzano on the other side. Broke the news that the Pac-12 schedule will be released tonight. He joined us yesterday on 760. You'll hear a conversation about the latest with the Pac-12 on the other side, but we promised you tickets to see Charlie Puth. If you want to see that concert in San Diego at Viejas Arena on April 22nd, be caller number 6 to 877-767-4760 right now, and you've got 2 free tickets to see Charlie Puth April 22nd at Viejas Arena. Again, be caller number 6 to 877-767-4760 right now for your chance to win those tickets. That's 877-767-4760. Hour 3 coming up next on 760.
This report is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Arizona Diamondbacks star outfielder Corbin Carroll broke a bone in his right hand and will undergo surgery at some time today, leaving him out of the World Baseball Classic and in question to be ready for opening day. Carroll broke the bone during a batting practice session yesterday. He now joins Mets shortstop Francisco Lindor and Baltimore second baseman Jackson Holliday on the list of players that all suffer from breaking the same bone in their hand early in spring training. Tomorrow night, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show at 6 o'clock. John will talk with the Aztecs head coach about last Saturday's win and preview this Saturday's upcoming game. That's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. For victims of drunk and drugged driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
All right, we've got Aztec basketball tickets to give away. We'll do that. Coming up later this hour, we've been mentioning the Pac-12 football schedule release is going to be coming out at 6:30. So they're releasing the football schedule tonight at 6:30. John Canzano was the one that broke that news, and he joined us yesterday. And there's a lot of intricacies with the schedule and with what's going on with the Pac-12. So if you missed the conversation, we started it by asking about the flex element to the schedule and what that means.
Yeah, you bet. Look, this is something the Big Ten Conference looked at a year and a half ago when they were talking about automatic bids to the college football playoff. Now they backed away from it, but the idea being that week 13 of the Pac-12 football season, this coming season in 2026, week 13 will be a flex schedule week. Now you're going to get an announcement. I believe the Pac-12 is going to roll this out tomorrow. There may be a little after dark element to the rollout, but the Pac-12 is going to roll out this schedule. They're going to say, hey, here's weeks 1 through 12. And by the way, week 13 is a little different. How they're going to do this is week 13 will not count in the regular season schedule standings. It'll count as a win or a loss, but it won't count towards the conference championship. The conference championship participants will be determined by week 12. Week 13 will be a one-off. And in week 13, you're going to get 4 teams announced tomorrow as home teams, 4 teams announced as road teams. And then the league will have, with a 6-day window before those games are kicked off in week 13, they'll have the ability to change the visiting teams and shuffle them around a little bit. And one theoretical advantage of that is, hey, if you have a team that is jockeying for position in the college football playoff and you think getting a little different matchup, whether it be a better matchup or ensuring a win, is a strategic advantage to the Pac-12. The Pac-12 can do that. Another advantage would be, let's just say hypothetically, San Diego State and Utah State are playing in week 12, and they play a game in week 12, and then wait a minute, they're scheduled to they're going to be the conference championship matchup in 2 weeks later, and by the way, week 13 gives you a chance to kind of shuffle things around. So you can avoid some redundancy by saying, hey, look, if these teams are going to play each other in week 13 and they're going to play each other in the championship game, let's change week 13. Let's have Fresno State come in and play San Diego State instead. So it's going to create some creative element. The TV partners, I'm told, love this because they like the idea of creating more attractive matchups. But it's going to be a real interesting week 13 in particular, but there's some other nuances in the schedule as well. We can talk about those.
All right. That's pretty fascinating. Yeah. Give us some additional nuances, because again, it's like the Pac-12 in today's landscape is entirely unique with the size of its league, right? I mean, an 8-team league is essentially unprecedented in an era where you have 18-team leagues. So what else is the Pac-12 thinking with their scheduling?
Yeah. I mean, look, I look around the Big Ten, the SEC this year, the ACC, even the Big 12. I have a hard time figuring out who's good.
Yeah, right.
Because they don't play each other, right? There's no crossover. And we're looking at an ACC championship game where, Miami should have been in that game and they're nowhere near it because of the way they schedule. So the Pac-12, you're going to get the opposite end of the spectrum. These teams are going to see a lot of each other. They're going to all play each other. There's some matchups I'm circling. I want to see San Diego State and Boise State play.
Sure.
I think that's going to be a really big game. I was on Boise radio earlier today, and they're excited about playing the Aztecs. Like, they're going, hey, that's going to be a big annual game for us. They were looking back last year to Snapdragon this last season. I was there. I came out for that game because it was such a big game. It was rainy and everything, but it was. You're going to see a lot of that circling on the calendar. But these teams are all going to play each other, and then week 13 is going to happen, and 6 days before those kickoffs, you may be told, hey, the matchups are changing, and here's what's going to happen. Some other things that are going on. Everyone's going to have one Friday night game during the season, or the option for a Friday night game. And I say option because it will be up to the TV partners whether or not that's a Friday night game or a Saturday game. I am told the only caveat there is that Texas State will not play a Friday night game. They will play a Thursday night game because of high school football in the state of Texas is so big. They're not going head to head with high school football in Texas. So they're going to, Texas State will get a home Thursday night game. Everybody else will play only one Friday night game. I asked, a source that, will this be a Pac-12 after dark? Will you lean into that branding? They said, why wouldn't we? They think they're going to go full throttle with sort of branding those games as after dark specials. You're going to see a lot of that. I don't think we're going to get 8 p.m. kickoffs. We won't get kickoff times tomorrow, but the kickoff times will be announced in May and June. But I think we're going to see some 7s, some 7:30s. But I think you're going to see some day games as well because the CW wants day games.
I'm curious to get your thoughts. Jon Canzano, JonCanzano.com. And again, for our listeners, make sure to check out his reporting online. Some really great stuff for Aztec fans and Pac-12 football fans. Well, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the North Dakota State addition to the Mountain West and why now. It comes in February. They'll be in the league for 2026, seemingly maybe adding some security, a strength in numbers element to it. But why is North Dakota State joining the Mountain West now?
North Dakota State is looking around. They're having some problems. They can't get anybody to play them. None of the FBS schools want to play them. And so they beat up on the FCS division. They've watched a number of their head coaches go on to join FBS schools. They held off Oregon State in this last hiring cycle by telling Tim Polasek, their coach, that they were going to try to get to the FBS level. Like, you don't have to go somewhere to get there. We'll get there. And so I think there's a little bit of that going on. Plus, there's a little bit of envy, right? They watched Appalachian State go FBS. They looked over and they saw JMU playing in a playoff game. They're like, hey, that used to be us. And so I think they're looking over going, if we're going to jump, if football is going to become, college football is going to become 60 to 80 teams competing in the top division in like 2032 and beyond, now's the time to duck under the rope and try to get into that group. And so they're going in. They're obviously spending like $20 million to get into the Mountain West. They're going to have to invest a minimum of $10 million a year in their football program. This isn't for everyone, but I think they've kind of looked around FCS and they've gone, all right, we won this thing. And in fact, in the last decade, 5 teams that we beat for national championships are now FBS schools, including Appalachian State, including JMU. And so I think they're looking over going, for their standpoint, it makes sense. For the Mountain West, it's very curious timing for me. And I'm looking at this and I'm always asking questions and I'm always going, okay, what is really going on? And I really do think for Gloria Nevarez in the Mountain West Conference, this is about defense. She is playing defense. She knows when you get down to like 8 schools and you lose an Air Force or a UNLV, you're in big trouble. So I think she's fortifying by adding Northern Illinois. She's fortifying by adding North Dakota State. I think the fact that it came right after the announcement of the media rights money is very curious to me. Does she know that UNLV and Air Force are not happy with the dollars? Does she suspect that like they're looking over at the Pac-12 going, hey, they're getting more money, they're getting more exposure? Maybe. But I do think it's a defensive move on behalf of the Mountain West because I think they know like having 10 football playing schools is better than having 8 for them because there is a flight risk, I think, that is ongoing with UNLV and Air Force. And I think that will be a storyline headed towards this summer, July 1st, another deadline, right, for the Mountain West. If UNLV and Air Force are going to bolt, keep an eye on July 1st as well.
Would you be surprised, Jon, if the Pac-12 remained at 8 football members for 2027? As in, how much of a priority will it be to get that 9th school to get to 8 conference games with 8 different opponents?
I would be shocked if they don't have at least a football only edition. Mm-hmm. And I think they are going to go shopping. I think they are looking for another member. I think they have, sort of laid up for right now. They're focused on getting the football schedule out, scheduling their conference championship game, the football championship game. That will also be part of the announcement tomorrow. I am told they're going to announce that it will be a home game for the highest seeded team. There will not be a neutral site game. So if San Diego State has the best record in the Pac-12, they will host that conference championship game. They're focused on the basketball championship tournaments, the men's and women's tournaments. I'm told are going to Vegas. They're negotiating with MGM right now, whether it's going to be MGM Garden Arena or it's going to be the Michelob Ultra Arena over at Mandalay Bay is to be determined. I think it's going to be one of those two sites. It will not be T-Mobile because T-Mobile is booked right now with the Big Ten women's tournament in 27 and the men's tournament in 28. I think they ideally want to be back in T-Mobile in 29, but I think the next 2 years could be MGM Garden Arena. It could be MGM Michelob Ultra Arena over at Mandalay Bay. I think, the basketball tournament's going to be there. But beyond this stuff, then comes a little bit of a rebrand. They're going to tweak the logo, I'm told. They're going to, finalize all the game times and the kickoffs. And then I think June and July will be about, hey, who do you add from a football-only perspective, if it is just a football move, or play after they see some media rights numbers, because the Pac-12 now has some dollars. And I am told that those distributions in the Pac-12 per school should be above $7 million per school. And if you're in the Mountain West and you're getting 2.8 million, plus they're subsidizing to get you to 3.5 million, maybe you have something to think about if you're UNLV.
Fascinating reporting. Again, you can see it all at johncanzano.com. You've been all over this story. Realignment never stops. And Pac-12, I know people in San Diego are excited to see the future of this league as it plays out in real time. So, John, appreciate you taking time. Yeah. Have a good show today, and thanks for doing it.
You bet.
All right, good stuff. Again, the Pac-12 schedule will be released tonight at 6:30. All right. A new broadcast idea for next year's Super Bowl. Is it a good idea or a bad idea? We'll get into that on the other side. The wrap is still ahead. We have Aztec basketball tickets to give away for next Tuesday night against Grand Canyon as well, right here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, we'll get to the wrap coming up at 4:30. We'll give away some Aztec tickets this hour as well for next week, Tuesday, against Grand Canyon. Again, a reminder, the Brian Dutcher show is tomorrow at 6. We'll sit down with the head coach of the Aztecs, preview Saturday's game against Nevada. The Brian Dutcher show every Thursday at 6 right here in your home for the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. All right, is this a good idea or not? All right, it's kind of a polarizing topic. That ESPN and Disney reportedly are considering adding an alt cast, shocking, to next year's Super Bowl. Again, the Super Bowl will air on ESPN for a first time next year. The alt cast would be Pat McAfee's show on field, as he's done for Monday Night Football games. Recently did it actually with the Rose Bowl. He had an all-time viewership alt cast record for the Rose Bowl of 2.4 million viewers. Obviously, the viewership numbers would be through the roof. I mean, it's the Super Bowl, but is anyone A, asking for this? B, they would need to clear a rights hurdle. This is a rights issue with the NFL for this to happen, an alt cast of the game. So that's A. B, it's like we already told you yesterday that 120 something million people watched this game without an alt cast. Like, is this something people are clamoring for? They're going to watch whatever. I mean, you could put me and Brent there with like kittens and we'll probably get 900,000 viewers because it's the Super Bowl. So, like, are you in favor of Pat McAfee being on field during the Super Bowl for an alternate broadcast of next year's game?
No, because I can't stand him. At first, I thought you were going to say that they were going to do some Mickey Mouse thing like they did with Christmas Day.
Yep.
And I was going to be like, whatever. That's no different than when the Super Bowl is on CBS and, they own Nickelodeon and they do the Nickelodeon Slime Time game thing for the kids. But yeah, no, I can't stand McAfee.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to watch. I can't stand him on when he's doing pro wrestling commentary. I can't stand him on College Game Day. So yeah, it would be a big no for me.
Here's the thing. It's one of those where it's like we don't have to watch. So I'm not like vehemently opposed to it being available. And yeah, I understand that things do change. Like we might live in a world where one day the Super Bowl is on stream or is played in London, for example. So things are going to change. There'll be pushback in reaction to that. The thing with the alt cast that, ESPN has kind of made famous here over the last couple of years in general is that, I guess you're reaching like this younger DMA, but here's my thing. The Super Bowl, you're reaching every DMA. You're reaching 8-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 68-year-olds, 88-year-olds. So like you wouldn't do it specifically to angle to a different audience. The audience is already there for it. It's not like, hey, I was gonna watch the Super Bowl if Pat McAfee had an alternate cast, but since he doesn't, I guess I'll go do my laundry. That doesn't present itself. So it's almost like, why take the time and the effort and the resources to put it together when you know the viewership is going to be there regardless?
And in my opinion, I always feel like these alt casts are broadcasts for people that don't really care about the game to start with, to where, like I'm not the biggest fan of like the Manning cast, but if it's a dog ass Monday Night Football game and they have a good guest on, I'll flip over and watch the Manning cast for a little bit. But, if, the Super Bowl, hypothetically is supposed to be the best game of the year. So the best game of the year, I want to hear the announcers actually break down the action. I don't want to listen to McAfee and his, little crony group that he has in there just screaming and yelling through the whole game. And, I'd rather listen to, I don't even care who does the game, whoever does a game. I'd rather listen to them,
Joe Buck than Pat McAfee.
To Joe Buck, Al Michaels,
Tirico.
whoever it is. I don't care. I'd rather listen to them actually call the game opposed to just be a distraction from it.
Yeah, this isn't an example of like, oh, nobody would watch. No, they'd watch. Of course. Like I said, they watched the Bissell Kitty halftime show. So like they would be watching. I mean, every American in the country is glued to their television. They'll be a viewer for it. I promise you that. But then again, they've already proven that they can get people to the television. Like that is not the issue with the Super Bowl. They set a U.S. viewership record 2 years ago. And this year's snoozer of a game had the second most viewers ever in the history of American television. Like, think about that. Now, again, it's quantified differently in the streaming world than it was maybe 25 years ago. But like, I would say this about Pat McAfee for a second. Listen, what he does is successful. He's paid a lot of money. What he's doing is working. But do we need him for every event? Do we act like you said? He's on WWE. He's on Game Day. He's doing altcast. He's doing the Rose Bowl. Does he really have to wedge his way into every possible sporting event that ESPN, Disney, and ABC own rights to?
Yes, because that is the ESPN way.
I mean, is he going to be a part of? I don't even know what ESPN has moving forward, but it's just, yeah, you knew this would happen. This goes back to the inside the NBA theory. There's going to be a moment in time where ABC is airing the NBA Finals and Stephen A. Smith is paired with Charles Barkley. Like that's happening. And then what you're doing here as well is you're like merging these things together. You know, Pat McAfee is going to be involved in some capacity in the Super Bowl broadcast. He'll probably be on the main broadcast, let alone the altcast, because like you said, this is kind of what ESPN, this is their forte. They're paying for Pat McAfee. They're paying him handsomely, and they're going to force feed him into every broadcast possible.
Look, that's been ESPN's MO for years now, is they overpay for, some broadcaster, whether it's Stephen A. or McAfee. They overpay for them. And then a year or two down the road, they're like, oh, we don't have any money because we're giving it all to Stephen A. And then they go and make a massive round of firings and get rid of, actual quality people that they have. And then to justify them paying Stephen A. and McAfee all this money, they're like, well, Stephen A., you watched soccer once, right? Okay, you go on and you talk about soccer now with Alexi Lawless or whoever does soccer stuff. And they just kind of start putting them on everything. It's kind of like to a smaller degree because he didn't get paid that much. But what they did with Max Kellerman. Max Kellerman was pretty much there to do boxing. He was the boxing guy, but they didn't justify his contract for him only to do boxing. So then all of a sudden Max Kellerman is talking NFL and NBA, and you can tell that he didn't really know anything about it, but they're throwing him in there because they're like, dude, we're writing you a check. You're not worth this amount of money just to come on once every 6 months to talk about boxing. Get in there and just fake it and just earn your check.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy. We'll get to the wrap coming up on the other side. We'll give away Aztec tickets. They're taking on Grand Canyon next Tuesday night. We'll give those away this hour. We'll get back to the Padres. Day one of spring training officially in the books. What did we learn today? We'll share over the next 90 minutes here on San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
Support is sponsored by Positive Coaching Alliance. In baseball news, Diamondback star outfielder Corbin Carroll broke a bone in his right hand and will undergo surgery some point today, leaving him out of the World Baseball Classic and in question to be ready for opening day. Carroll broke the bone during a batting practice session yesterday. He now joins Mets shortstop Francisco Lindor and Baltimore second baseman Jackson Holliday on the list of players to all suffer from breaking the same bone in their hand in spring training. Tomorrow night, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show at 6:00. John talks with the Aztecs head coach about the Saturday's upcoming game. If you have questions about youth or high school sports, Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA delivers better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
All right, we've got Aztec tickets that were given away this hour. They're playing Grand Canyon on Tuesday. They're facing Nevada on Saturday, but we've got tickets to give away for Tuesday's game. That's a week from yesterday. We'll do that later this hour. We'll get back to the Padres and their storylines from day one of spring training, what Craig Stammen had to say. We'll get back to that coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. But right now, let's get to this.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Are you excited to have NHL players return to the Olympics for the first time in 12 years?
I'm not overly excited, but if I was a hockey fan, I think I would be, because I feel like it's a big deal. Like, compare it to basketball in the summer games. If you weren't using NBA players, that would have a significant impact on viewership and all kinds of things, right? I mean, if you weren't using NBA players, are you even like selling out arenas for Summer Olympic basketball? But I think it's the same thing with the NHL. I mean, if you're a diehard hockey fan, you're probably enamored with this, like the rosters for the U.S., and Canada, and some of these European countries. So I think ultimately it's a good decision, because if you're not using NHL players, what are we really watching? So I think you either you do it the right way, or you don't do it at all. Now, what's weird about the Olympics is a little bit like college athletics, is like there's blurred lines. Back in the day, it was like amateurism, and then it became more professional, and you had like Dream Team in '92. But we're so far removed from that I'm just at the point where it's like, whether it's amateur or professional, I just want to see the best. So if you're going to hold this thing every 4 years, give me the best hockey players in the world or the best basketball players in the world. So ultimately, I think it's the right decision, Brent, to use NHL players.
I'm kind of in the middle, just because of the fact that, when the Dream Team was formed, everyone was excited because America was, pun intended, leaps and bounds better than the rest of the world at basketball. So when the Dream Team went to Barcelona, they killed everybody by 50, 60 points every single game. Hockey, you got Canada, you got Russia, you got a lot of countries that hockey is their number one sport, and they're better than the U.S. at hockey. So it's not one of those things where it's like, if we put, NBA players on Team USA, our chances greatly increase of winning a gold medal. Does it really? It makes our chances better to win in hockey, but it's not one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, we got this now.
Well, I mean, I guess, go back to like Lake Placid, right? Do you believe in miracles? Whatever, forever ago at this point. And there's something special about having no shot and doing it. Like right now, when you're using NHL players, there's no such thing as no shot. I mean, one team might be favored over another, but it's like, if the U.S. won it all, it wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, they've done it. They've done the undoable. No, they might have had like the third shortest odds to win it, and then they won it. So like in some respect, it's like, wow, when you do it against all odds, it really resonates. But again, for the sheer entertainment factor, if you're a hockey fan, I'd have to imagine you want to see these hockey players, these NHL players that you're watching night in and night out. So I think personally, it's just like using NBA players. I think it's the right decision. Next question.
Could Nick Castellanos be the missing piece for the Padres?
I don't think he's the missing piece. I think he could be a piece if the Padres could pry him loose from the Phillies. Again, the reporting today from Matt Gelb, who covers the Phillies, was that Castellanos is persona non grata and will not be invited to spring training, and he'll either be traded or he's going to be released, and that opens up the possibility of him maybe like DHing for the Padres in 2026. So, yeah, he didn't have a great year. He's an aging player. He's 34. He's probably outside of his prime at this point. But I like the idea of it. I really do. I wouldn't give up too much in prospect capital. I wouldn't pay too much money. But if I could get it at the right dollar figure on the right terms, I'd be inclined to do it if I was San Diego. And I think this will be resolved in quick terms. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here, truthfully. Next question.
And this might be the most rhetorical question in the history of the Wrap. Are you excited for the Pac-12 schedule release?
Oh, you better believe I am. So I wish we could talk about it on air, but the Pac-12 has their...
You don't want to stay a little longer? Go 5?
I'm good. Well, tomorrow we'll go 5 hours because we've got Dutch at 6 p.m. But listen, I kind of do wish that they were releasing this earlier in the day. This is coming out at 6:30 Pacific. And it's just because I want to talk about it. It's like we have a 4-hour show. We're the home for San Diego State Athletics. I'd like to go through the schedule on air for 15 minutes, and we'll have a chance to do that, I'm sure, tomorrow. And we already know who they're playing. Their non-conference opponents have been released. The teams they're conference, they're playing every single one of them. This isn't the Big Ten. We're like, man, is Penn State playing Michigan? Man, is Oregon playing Washington? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. There's 18 teams, but in this league, there's 8 teams. You're playing all 7 of the other teams. And in fact, you're going to play one of the teams twice as well. So, no, but I'm looking forward to, because again, everything with the Pac-12 to me feels new, revamped, creative even. Releasing a schedule, Pac-12 After Dark, that's unique. I don't recall that being a way that schedules were previously released. So, yes, you know me. Am I looking forward to it? Please. Of course I'm looking forward to it. Next question.
Is Saturday a must-win game for San Diego State?
All right, so San Diego State, Nevada at Viejas Arena. Aztecs firmly on the bubble. Maybe the last couple of teams in the field or one of the first few teams outside of the field, according to bracketologists. Of course, there's still plenty of time. Selection Sunday is 4.5 weeks away. The Aztecs have 7 regular season games, as many as 3+ Mountain West tournament games as well. I think you kind of got to go 6-1 here down the stretch to feel really good about your at-large chances. Maybe you could do 5-2, but to go 6-1, you'd never want to drop the first game in that path. Never want to lose to Nevada at home. That's not the hardest game on that schedule. And I think Nevada's a very good team, and they gave the Aztecs a very good game in Reno earlier this year. But San Diego State is one of the more dominant teams at home in America, not just this year, but just traditionally over the last 20 years. So it just provides an opportunity, I would say, to pick up a good quality win come Saturday. What's unique about Saturday's game is both teams are coming off byes. So Nevada hasn't played since last weekend. San Diego State hasn't played since last weekend. The Aztecs blew out Air Force. I mean, they could have won the game by 50 probably if they really wanted to, and they ended up winning it by 34 points. So had a couple of days off, now have had a couple of days of practice, and now preparing for, a rare homestand. They've had like a home game, then a road game, a home game, then a road game. This is the only time in conference play they get back-to-back home games, and they're brilliant opportunities. Nevada, Grand Canyon, where it's like if you were playing at Nevada at Grand Canyon, you're like, man, it's going to be tough to win those games. Now, the Aztecs won one of them, honestly should have won 2, if not for that, whistle, the controversial call with 1.6 or 1.8 seconds remaining. So big week. I mean, again, is it a must win? No, because you could still make the NCAA tournament by winning the conference tournament, or maybe you could win the next 6 games and still get in as an at-large team. I would say it's as close to a must win as you're going to have this time of year, where it's still only the middle of February. It's not late February or early or mid-March. So no, not actually a must win game, but approaching a must win game for San Diego State. It's just that time of year, man, where there's so much scoreboard watching. Like I'm doing it right now, like watching all these scores come in, and it's almost like when you watch election coverage and you're waiting for the precincts to report. That's what college basketball is, because there's like so many games, just like the presidential election. There's so many counties, there's so many states, there's so many different there's so many different ways to like parse through the data. Same thing going on right now. It's like, well, would it be good for this team to win, or would it be good for that team to win? Like there's a game tonight in the Mountain West, for example. New Mexico, Grand Canyon. Big game. New Mexico is squarely on the bubble. Grand Canyon's on the outside looking in, but has had a very good year. The game is in Phoenix at Grand Canyon. New Mexico's lost back-to-back games. And from a standings perspective, you might say, well, I hope maybe New Mexico, I'm making this up, loses to Grand Canyon. But the Aztecs also might want New Mexico to be a tournament team because that would arguably be their best win. They beat New Mexico at home. And you want to have wins on your resume against tournament caliber teams. And New Mexico right now is one of those teams. So again, every game presents like a pro and a con in terms of who you're rooting for. And this game tonight between New Mexico and Grand Canyon is a big one in the Mountain West that directly impacts San Diego State.
I've just seen Neil Payne, I think is his last name, at ESPN, did a Bubble Watch article.
Yeah.
And his Aztec blurb was updated 2 days ago at 8:30 in the morning, but he has them in the work to do category.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that or not.
No, I think I mean, they definitely do. It's not like they're secure right now. You know what I mean? They definitely have work to do. So I think that's fair. They're where they need to be, I guess. But no, I do think that's fair. I think most people would say they have work to do. They're either one of the last few teams in the field or one of the first few teams out of the field right now.
Yeah, he said in the thing, the Aztecs are still one of the most bubbliest of bubble teams. They sit 46 nationally in resume ranking, third in conference standing, and their consensus at large chances are almost 50-50.
Okay, yeah. And that's basically where they fit into the equation right now. All right, speaking of the Aztecs, let's give away tickets coming up next. We'll let you know how to win those tickets for next Tuesday, the Aztecs and Grand Canyon at Viejas Arena. We'll get back to the Padres. Day one of spring training is in the books. What Craig Stammen had to say. All that ahead right here on San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760. Again, Craig Stammen met with the media earlier today. The Padres and spring training, basically day one of spring training in the books. We'll hear what Craig Stammen had to say coming up at 5 p.m. How this is even a story. Like if you go to MLB.com today, this is an actual story that Mason Miller has been named the Padres closer. Like what is that? That's like saying, go outside and saying there's a sky. I mean, of course, Robert Suarez walks. Mason Miller, they gave up their top prospect, one of baseball's biggest prospects. He is arguably the best reliever in the sport. Was there another option that we were missing? Of course, Mason Miller is your closer. How is that even a question or a story? But that's how you know it's day one of spring training.
They did the same thing with the Cubs. They wasted a blurb to let everyone know that Palencia is the closer for opening day.
Yeah, it's like, well,
because that was the dying question I've been wondering since they got bounced from the playoffs. Not where are we going to get more starters from, but who's going to close?
Right. Or like, and again, this is how you know it's early. Like, who are the first three pitchers in the Padres rotation? We already know this. We already know it's Pivetta and Musgrove and King with health. Who's fighting for the fourth spot? We already know it's Randy Vasquez. Well, who's fighting for the fifth spot? We already know they don't have anyone for the fifth spot. So, again, it's early. There's not a lot really going on. I think what's different this year as opposed to other years is you're going to get the WBC talk that's going to come up. Is Jackson Merrill going to be on this team with Corbin Carroll out? I don't think he will. I don't know what happens next. I don't know how that determination is made. Maybe it's a possibility. I would say around baseball in general, it's like Brent touched on this earlier. It's like, why did so many NBA players have Achilles injuries last year? Why do so many baseball players experience hamate bone injuries right now? Interesting. We've talked about over the last 25 years, are there more, elbow injuries today than there were in 1977? Yeah, probably. The game has changed.
Guys weren't throwing 106
exactly.
in 1967.
Exactly. So, yeah, there's a lot of injuries right now. The one thing I would say about that is like, you'd prefer it now. Corbin Carroll could still be back for opening day. Even the Padres, I didn't realize this. Yesterday, I was like, I think maybe when Sammy was here, I'm like, well, obviously Jason Adams is going to be out to start the year. No, Craig Stammen said yesterday, listen, they'll slow play it with Jason Adams. They're not gonna rush him coming off this quad. But he said he's not ruling out opening day, or that he may be available come opening day. I'm like, oh wow, that was news to me because he got hurt in the second half of last year. I still probably think that's optimistic. But again, at the end of the day, like Colin earlier with his take, he's like, the NBA's issue is they can't keep their stars on the court, where like in the NFL, they play tackle football and they can still keep their stars out there. Not necessarily. We've seen a lot of injuries across all positions, including quarterback, including to the greatest player in the league right now in Patrick Mahomes. So I understand the point. At the end of the day, when you're playing sports at this high of a level, first of all, there's certain things that are unpredictable. Non-contact Achilles injuries, hamate bone injuries. We're talking about small bones in the hand. And then I was trying to think. I mean, just this is going to happen. Like it's just, there's an inevitability to football. Of course, injuries are going to happen. The same with baseball. You can get hit by a pitch. I mean, you can't protect against that. So yeah, that's a part of it. That's why depth is going to be important for all teams, including the Padres.
Yeah, I always thought it was funny just how, baseball, we got 3-star players that all break the exact same bone in the exact same hand. And they're just like, oh, well, S happens.
Right.
There's no big deal about it. But, the NFL would be doing some study blaming it on, AstroTurf or power plants. And, then the NBA would just completely freak out and make it, oh, we play too many games. That's why that's why they got injured on the first day of spring training.
Remember, was it earlier in the week or last week when we said, hey, here are the projections from Fangraphs, 79 or 80 wins. And everyone kind of, I mean, not everyone, but people are like, wow, that's kind of eyebrow raising since they won 90 games last year. Well, now there's another one that MLB.com is touting. It's called PECOTA. It's been around for forever. It's at Baseball Prospectus. It's a little more complimentary of the Padres, but not by much. PECOTA simulates the Padres to go 82-80 and simulates the Dodgers winning 104 games this upcoming year. Now, where would 82 wins rank in the National League? believe it or not, it would get them in the postseason because the Dodgers, Cubs, and Braves would win their respective divisions, and the Mets and the Phillies would both win in the mid to high 80s, and the next best by about a game or a half game over the Brewers, actually, it's very close. No, do I have that right? Yeah. Over teams like the Brewers and the Giants would be San Diego with 82 wins. Now, I find it very hard to believe you're getting to the postseason with 82 wins. But again, this is a little more complimentary than Fangraphs. They also give the Padres a 38.7% chance of making the playoffs. Fangraphs gives the Padres something like a 21 or 22% chance right now of making the playoffs. So the point is these simulations aren't overly high on the Padres. I think there's a reason why. And I think it goes down to, well, they haven't completed their team. I think they're simulating 40% of their games with Randy Vasquez and like Matt Waldron, where that should change if they sign a veteran starter. I think they're still, simulating lineups that aren't fully complete for the Padres. Not that they're complete with all these teams. So some of these other teams are going to improve as well. But I guess it's just when you look at it in the sheer reality of it all, the Padres, it may be challenging to get back to 90 wins. I do think that's fair to say. Coming off back-to-back 90-win years, it may be challenging to get back to 90 wins when one projection system is saying 80 and another is saying 82. These aren't gospel. They're taken with grains of salt. The team is incomplete. It's February. They start 2-0. Their projections probably go up by 1 or 2 wins. They start 0-2. They probably go down by 1 or 2 wins. So I'm not going to lose sleep or spend too much time on it because I don't think that's worthwhile. But it is interesting that it's not just a one-off aberration Fangraphs. It's not just a one-off aberration Pacoda. Again, these things aren't gospel. They're not literal. They're not factual. They're simulating. So it's based on events that haven't happened as of yet. But, I think that the Padres a year ago were probably projected in the mid-80s. Year before that, they were projected in the mid to high 80s. It's like they're kind of trying to hold on right now from a projection perspective. And then we'll see what does it look like when they actually get on field later in the next 6 weeks.
Well, once they add Nick Castellanos, they'll be at 105.
There we go. Once they add
one better than the Dodgers.
And once they sign, who's the pitcher that they can even sign at this point? Once they sign, who else is out there that we've been talking about recently?
Giolito.
Or Zach Allen, right? But yeah, 82 is the projected win total for the Padres right now at Pacoda. All right. We promised you Aztec tickets. We've got them right now for caller 7, a great giveaway for Tuesday night. That's in 6 days at Viejas Arena. It's San Diego State and Grand Canyon. Their first matchup was unbelievable in Phoenix. Grand Canyon essentially winning at the buzzer. If you want tickets to the rematch, San Diego State hosting Grand Canyon on Tuesday. Caller, did I say 6 or 7? Caller 7 to 877-767-4760. You are going. Call right now, 877-767-4760. You'll hear from Craig Stammen coming up next on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. In baseball news, Diamondback star outfielder Corbin Carroll broke a bone in his right hand and underwent surgery today, leaving him out of the World Baseball Classic and in question for opening day. Carroll broke the bone during a batting practice session yesterday. He now joins Mets shortstop Francisco Lindor and Baltimore second baseman Jackson Holliday on the list of players who all suffer from breaking the same bone in the same hand early in spring training. Tomorrow night, we have the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show at 6:00. John and the head coach will preview this Saturday's upcoming game. For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you're not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
All right, John Schaefer, Brent Sperry, San Diego Sports 760 with you for another hour until 6 p.m. here tonight. Again, Padres had their first full day of spring training today. Craig Stammen did meet with the media. One of the takeaways is just where they are with the rotation, obviously. Let's hear from Craig Stammen. We played this a little bit earlier. Let's hear from Craig Stammen, asked about the state of the rotation, and we'll react.
The state of the rotation, I feel like, is in a we got good pitchers. So that's always good. And we got good pitchers to choose from. Obviously, it's headlined with Joe, Nick, and Michael. Feel good about those three. And then there's competition for 4, 5, 6, and 7.
What do you view what Randy did last season, the way he progressed as the season went on, the way he kind of started to miss bats at the end? How did he kind of throw himself into that mix and that conversation this season?
Yeah, I think Randy, I mean, you can look at all the underlying statistics and say, he's due for some regression and all that kind of stuff. But there's also like being able to get out of those situations that we should give him credit for that also. And him ending the season with an ERA, I think, under 4. Like, that's not easy to do in the big leagues. So, obviously he's probably got the inside track to one of those last 2 spots. He pitched great for us last year, and especially how he ended the season. That's kind of what we envisioned for Randy, getting better as he's gotten a little older and gotten more opportunity. And he showed up to camp in great shape. He showed up to camp looking a lot like that guy in September.
All right. So again, that was Craig Stammen earlier today at spring training. Some of the other takeaways just in general, and thank you, Talking Friars, for sharing this on your account. But some of the things that were said today, let me find it real quick. All right. So, what were their biggest moves of the offseason, Brent? I'll tell them to you. Michael King and Sung Moon Song, right?
Yeah, these that sounds like a Neil Diamond album.
Right. These are their notable additions. Now, Song has been dealing with an oblique. According to Craig Stammen, his health is better than expected. I'll believe it when I see it. The classic Padres line. Oh, he broke his arm, but he might be back tomorrow. And then he's out 8 months, right? We've re-signed Mike Clevenger to a 2-year deal. Always missing next year with Tommy John. But again, it's February, so there's no real reason to worry too much because they have time. We just heard Craig Stammen say that Randy Vasquez has the inside track to one of the final 2 spots in the rotation. That makes sense considering where they are right now with their rotation. He also confirmed today, we joked about this earlier, that Mason Miller will be their closer. The sky's blue in San Diego. So Mason Miller's going to be the closer. In general, I think what's encouraging heading into this camp is that they do have a level of health. I mean, obviously the Yu Darvish situation playing out, he's out for the year. He might retire. His contract might be voided. Think about last year, they had, health situations with Darvish and Musgrove, and inevitably there's going to be setbacks and precautions, and this guy's going to miss a day because of a quad or an ankle, or you got to be careful this time of year. Completely understandable. They will be, but prepare for that inevitability. And then I guess Craig Stammen also said today, because I did see the audio. We didn't play it right there, but Craig Stammen did say that Darvish is trying to teach Randy Vasquez how to be the Dominican Yu Darvish, which is interesting. But I guess it also confirms this point, which is Yu Darvish will continue to play a role in the organization, even with him either retiring or potentially having his contract voided or moving into some type of front office role. Like, he'll remain a mentor of sorts, I think, on the side, which hopefully has value for, some of the players on this roster, including someone like Randy Vasquez.
It just means Randy Vasquez has about 2 weeks to learn 27 new pitches.
Yeah, exactly. So there's your primary day one takeaway. Also, I think we learned that Kyle Hart is expected not to compete for a spot in the rotation, but come out of the bullpen. I mean, their bullpen has a ton of depth. It really does. It's going to be the true strength of the team. I don't care if their offense improves. I'll still take their bullpen. I don't care if their rotation is fortified. I'll still take their bullpen. Like, to me, the true calling card of this team, and this is a good thing to say. If I can say this on February, what's today? 11th. Thank you. If I can say on February 11th that I know the identity of the team, I think it's encouraging. Now, I want to see other areas improve, but they really have identified the bullpen as their strength for the last 2+ years. Second half 2024, dominant bullpen. Dominant bullpen first half 2025 that they added to with Mason Miller. And I do think they head into 2026. We read yesterday that MLB Network had their top 10 relievers in the sport, Brent. 3 of them are Padres. So, you're leaning into your bullpen as the season gets underway. And I think it's a smart way to do it. I mean, I think it's a true advantage the Padres do enjoy, and we'll see how much they can capitalize on it.
What do you think the odds are that they try a strategy of maybe doing more bullpen days this year to make up for,
that's a good question.
Hypothetically, if they don't pick up, a 5th starter that, pans out, is that in the cards to where it's just like, once every 2 weeks, we're just going to do a bullpen day to rest arms just because that's our best option? Really good question. I hadn't fully considered it, but you tie 2 and 2 together. Like, if Kyle Hart's competing to come out of your bullpen, well, he was stretched out last year and starting, and he'll be stretched out to begin spring training. And oftentimes, to your point, in April, once the regular season is underway, or even late March, your starters aren't even that built up. So they're kind of like quasi bullpen games because starters maybe go 3 or 4 innings, and then the totality of your bullpen is going 5 or 6 innings. So to your point, maybe they do lean a little more heavily into that. This modern baseball has proven that type of philosophy has been beneficial, because what happens is when you go true bullpen game, the batters within a lineup very rarely see the same pitcher twice in a game. So, for 2 innings, it's your, opener. For another 2 innings, it's your first reliever, but you're never able to hone in on a particular pitcher over the course of 9 innings. And by and large, I think there's a reason why baseball has trended in that direction over the last decade or so. And for a lot of teams that don't have as good of a bullpen as the Padres, them doing the whole opener strategy and doing bullpen days is almost for them throwing in the towel for the day, saying that, we played 13 innings last night. We can't use our bullpen or any more starters. So we're just pretty much throwing in the towel for tomorrow. And we're just going to throw this dude out there. And if he gets lit up, he gets lit up. We don't really care. To where the Padres, their strength is their bullpen, to where that could almost be an advantage for them to come out and just do bullpen days like that. Yeah, absolutely. Because this is their strength. No, I completely agree with that. Kevin Acee, who will join us this week and is back in 2026 on San Diego Sports 760 as our Padres insider. He is in Peoria, and he's going to be writing daily notebooks and features, and obviously meeting with players and executives and coaches, part of scrums. So he's been writing a little bit here today, and I'll have to go through it at the break to see kind of what comes out of day one of spring training from the way that Kevin viewed it. But it's what's interesting here is how good of a feel are you going to have for a team, because they're all going to go their separate ways very soon. 8 guys leaving for these WBC camps. It could be more than that as it all shakes out. It's possible that you'll have another player too as well that leaves. And again, in 2023, one of the big talking points was Padres got off to a slow start. Did it have to do with the WBC? You've heard AJ Preller over the last offseason say, hey, this is something we've had conversations about. Like we'll look at what went wrong. Was it tied to the WBC? Were we cohesive when we started the season? Were we, a collective, a group? Were we aligned fully? And I do think there's something to be said for that. I do think there's something to consider for that, because it is weird that you have like players and key players going their separate ways. And then all of a sudden they report back and the season is underway and you don't really have time to, I don't know, like form the bonds that are necessary to endure the adversity that it takes over the course of 162 games. Now, the other side of that equation is
Well, all the teams have to deal with it. It's like when you say, man, it was tough to win that football game. It was raining really hard, but it was raining really hard for both of the teams. There was a San Diego State, Boise State football game this year at Snapdragon where it poured and poured and poured. And out of the Boise State side of it was like, well, we had to get conservative because of the weather. I'm like, well, you had to get conservative because of the weather. What about San Diego State? They don't see weather in San Diego. So I do think there's something to that it's not just that the Padres that are experiencing this when it comes to the WBC. There's a lot of teams, all of the teams presumably are dealing with these roster changes as a result of the WBC. You know what it does mean? It means guys that are on non-roster deals have plenty of opportunities in spring training because some of these guys aren't going to be in camp for 2-3 weeks. So that opens up opportunities and maybe someone capitalizes on that and someone will. I mean, these are 26-man rosters. They'll, be a position player that maybe emerges or a reliever that emerges. But yeah, again, the WBC, it's happening every 3 years. So it's not like it's entirely new, but it's a little bit new still. Because like one of the years it was postponed because of COVID. And, it's only been around for 15 to 20 years. So they've only had 5 or 6 instances of the WBC. So it's not entirely new, but it is still kind of quasi new. And it is impactful. It is impactful. We'll see how much it impacts the Padres here in 2026. So anyway, just again, following the news coming out of spring training on day one involving the San Diego Padres. In terms of their first spring training game, you're still a week out. They don't play a game. And what are we really learning there? You're not learning a ton. The first spring training game or two. It is nice to just see baseball out there again, obviously, but it's not the end all be all when a starter goes 1 inning and then 8 relievers go 1 inning.
No, because the starter is going to be wearing number 88.
Yeah, or 98. But the Padres' first spring training game is a week from Friday, February 20th. It just keeps coming sooner, right? Like it just keeps coming earlier. So February 20th is the first spring training game. The opening day and the Padres home opener is March 26th against Detroit here at Petco Park. So, it's going to be here before we know it. It really will. March 26th is opening day for the Padres. All right. On the other side, much more to get to. Again, we've got this schedule release coming out for the Pac-12. We have Aztec basketball to look ahead to for Saturday. Brian Dutcher will join the show coming up tomorrow at 6 p.m. for the Brian Dutcher Show. And we're here until 6 p.m. We've got Brent's Back Page coming up as well. Don't go anywhere. This is San Diego Sports 760. We are live on the iHeartRadio app. Jim's buddy, Nick Wright, who he would talk about obsessively and say he never like watched or listened to him, but was obsessed with. Nick Wright is calling.
He looks like the Geico caveman.
Right. Nick Wright's calling on the NFL to punish the Patriots for quote unquote fudging Drake May's injury status, which is interesting. It's like in a boxing fight where there's all this hype. You know, it's the big Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. Everyone's talking about it. There's going to be so much money wagered on it and all these pay-per-view viewers and all these butts and seats. And then you come to find out after the fact that one of the two fighters wasn't fully healthy, but they still promoted it as if they were. It's an interesting take because I think it was Will Brinson who joined us on Monday. It was like, I'm sorry. Like after watching that, like there's a lot of reason to believe that, yeah, I get it. Drake May wasn't great, but was Drake May healthy?
See, I'm gonna push back against Nick Wright on that because I had in one of my updates in the 2 weeks of nothingness news before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he was always hurt.
Well, he got put that first day of practice. He got put on the questionable list or something for his shoulder. So it's not like
Huge
they sat around and
surprise.
didn't talk about it and they never mentioned it.
Interesting.
They mentioned it. It was out there in the ether because I had it in my updates one of the days. So
yeah, it's a great point.
So it was out there. It wasn't like one of those things where he went out there and played bad and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I was hurt. That's why I played bad.
And here's to further your point. It's the NFL. They've played 20 games. Of course he's hurt. Like what are the odds that you get to this point and you are fully healthy? It's not just Drake May. There's pass rushers dealing with things and running backs. And he was listed, to your point, on the report all week leading up to the game. There's no obligation that these players appearing in the Super Bowl, like to appease bettors, have to be 100% healthy because nobody is 100% healthy. So like Drake May had just appeared 2 weeks ago and now it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty in the snow. In Denver, they won the game. It wasn't pretty at all in the postseason. They didn't score any points. In the postseason. It's not like we went into the postseason thinking Drake May was Patrick Mahomes. I was thinking Drake May was going to be better than he was. But everyone said Seattle's defense could dominate. Like that was the take heading in. And coming out of it, Seattle's defense dominated. Did Drake May have some terrible passes in the game? Yeah, but he's not the first quarterback to do that in the Super Bowl. And he's not going to be the last. So I don't think the Patriots owe the viewers or the bettors anything because Drake May played and they didn't lead everyone on to it. Also, there's gamesmanship in there. Are you supposed to say, hey, he's going to start, but he can't throw? You could tell Seattle, he can't throw. We're going to be run heavy. 85% of the plays are going to run. And everything that we throw is going to be 10 yards or less from the line of scrimmage. You can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. You're taking away some advantages that you would have otherwise. And what was the option? Would Nick Wright prefer that the backup started? Would they have been better off? How'd that work for Denver the other day? So New England, it's the NFL. It's the Super Bowl. You're going to do the best you can with the circumstances that you're provided with. And I'm with you. I don't have an issue with it. It's not like we were told for weeks, he's never been healthier. He's never been fitter. He's never looked better. That's not what we were told heading into the game.
No, because they even pinpointed down to the tackle in the AFC Championship game that hurt his shoulder. So, like I said, it's not something that all of a sudden it just popped up out of nowhere to where they're saying he was hurt to where, they didn't disclose it. They disclosed it. It's almost coming off as Nick Wright bet on New England and he missed that valuable piece of betting information.
Yeah.
And now he's all pissed off about it. So now he's just like, demands justice.
I mean, there's definitely been, there's definitely examples of it in boxing where, again, you're led down a path. I get that. Like if you're a bettor and you're led to believe that these boxers are healthy, and then after the fact, it comes out like in post-game commentary, well, I came in and I had a broken hand the whole time. Like, well, that's obviously going to impact the result of the fight. And that's not reasonable because the bettors think it's like a fair handshake situation. I can't compare what I'm talking about to what played out on Sunday.
Well, and by the rule of the law, New England did all they were required to do.
Exactly.
That was one of the gripes that people always had with the hoodie was he would not release any injury information.
Mm-hmm.
He would put them as questionable on the list, and that was all he was required to do, and that was all you're going to get out of him. If you want to, Tom Brady's shoulder, did he tweak it this weekend? He's listed as questionable for Sunday.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
all you're going to get out of him because that was all he had to give you. So, it's they should just be used to it, to where it's just like, they don't have to come out like you said. They're not going to come out. Did you want them to just tell you their entire offensive game plan too while you're at
First
it?
4 plays are runs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of insane. It's like the game wasn't a good game. It wasn't. You know what I mean? And I don't know if he was healthy, if it would have saved it. I really don't. I don't think it was as simple as, well, he wasn't 100%, and that's why it wasn't a good game. I just don't think New England was as good as Seattle. I think it has a lot more to do with Seattle. Like, I go back to the point that we made, I think, on Monday. I'm like, for me, Seattle earned it. We could talk about New England playing poorly, and that's because of Seattle. Like, Seattle played a very good brand of football. They ran the ball. They led with their defense. I mean, New England did nothing basically over the course of the game. Not because they weren't trying to do anything, because of Seattle. So, and like we said on Monday as well, it's not the first bad Super Bowl. Like, it's number 30 over 60 in terms of just, maybe not 30, but number 20 or 25 or 30 in terms of non-competitive Super Bowls. And that's what happens in a one-off event. You play a World Series, you're probably stumbling into a couple of good games. You play an NBA Finals, you're probably stumbling, not always, but you're probably stumbling into a couple of good games. You play a one-off event, any one game, and you could say, man, this is the amazing matchup. In the regular season, it isn't always. Or this is a terrible matchup. It ends up being a great game. So in any one-off event like the Super Bowl, you have to know that this is a distinct possibility. And by the way, everyone still ate their nachos. Everyone still had their hot dogs and their hamburgers. Everyone still watched halftime. And you know what I mean? Like, it's not like we were robbed of it. We weren't promised anything that we weren't given. Seattle was a 5-point favorite. They looked like a team that could have been a 10-point favorite. I mean, so yeah, I'm with you.
I kind of feel like some people they hyped the Super Bowl up so much in their head, and for some reason, and then when it didn't live up to expectations, now they're trying to justify,
like, why,
and rationalize why it wasn't good, and make excuses for oh, well, it's not the Super Bowl's fault, it's the Patriots' fault because they told everyone about Drake May's shoulder injury on a Tuesday when I wasn't paying attention and I didn't hear it. So it's New England's fault that the Super Bowl sucked this year. And
yeah, no, I agree with you. All right, on the other side, the sporting event this weekend that nobody is talking about, coming up next on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by Staples. In Major League Baseball news, Arizona Diamondbacks star outfielder Corbin Carroll broke a bone in his right hand yesterday and will undergo surgery at some point today, leaving him out of the World Baseball Classic and in question for being ready for opening day. Carroll broke the bone yesterday during a batting practice session. He now joins Mets shortstop Francisco Lindor and Orioles second baseman Jackson Holliday on the list of players to all suffer from the same injury. All three of them broke the same bone in the same hand during spring training. Tomorrow night, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show at 6:00. John will talk with the Aztecs head coach about last Saturday's win and preview this Saturday's upcoming game. Staples has hot deals and super low prices on everything for your business. And right now, brand your business at Staples with up to 30% off custom labels. Exclusions apply. Shop Staples in-store, online, or in the app. Ends April 18th. Visit staples.com/print for details.
All right, cross another starting pitcher off the list for the Padres. Chris Bassett is in agreement on a one-year deal with the Orioles for $18.5 million. So Chris Bassett is off the board. I mean, veteran pitcher. How old is he? He's 36.
Yeah.
This deal's pending a physical, yada, yada. Incentives. So cross another pitcher off the list for San Diego.
Good. He's too old anyways.
But again, like you said earlier, like all of these players now have red X's. Like there's going to be some pros, but there's going to be some cons. Yeah, like you're not checking all the good boxes.
Yeah, he was at the top list of the old people that I was talking about when I read the list earlier because he's one of the older ones. So
again, Chris
he wasn't exactly a whippersnapper.
No,
like Stammen said.
Bassett to the Orioles, the 36-year-old on a 1-year, $18.5 million deal. So we referenced that there's a big sporting event this weekend that is nobody's discussing. It's going to be held in Southern California. It's the NBA All-Star Game. They've lost me again with their format. Maybe it's old men yelling at clouds. I'm not that old, but it's like there was nothing wrong with the Eastern Conference against the Western Conference for all those years. I get it. The scores started getting crazy and you were scoring 180 points per team. Okay, so we had to go so drastic to play. Whenever you have an all-star game with 3 teams, you've lost everyone. There's no such thing. I hit 3-team anythings. There's no 3-team leagues. There's no 3-team pods. 3 makes no sense. And you've got 2 U.S. teams and 1 world team. And this is going to be in Inglewood at the new home of the Clippers. I mean, I'm not telling you I'm not going to throw it on. You know, I'm curious to see what it looks like, but is there such a problem with the best players in the Eastern Conference taking on the best players in the Western Conference? What is so inherently wrong with that we had to just rip the whole thing up and create a 3-team all-star game format?
Well, and the thing that really sucks about it is there was no reason. You know, the reason the games, you know, were up in the 180s and stuff like that had nothing to do with the East-West format. It had to do with the East-West lack of effort from the teams the players, and not wanting to play defense. You know, the NBA keeps doing the whole lipstick on a pig thing with the All-Star game, and they never acknowledge the actual problem, which is player effort, because the players don't want to try anymore. They tried bribing them, and they said that, nah, we don't care. We're still not going to try. They tried giving them, you know, other rewards, and they threw around other ideas, and they're just like, nope, nothing we can do is going to get us to try anymore. It had nothing to do with the East-West format. It didn't have anything to do with, oh, well, let's just have 2 captains and we'll randomly just draw teams. It doesn't matter if they're in East or West. That didn't fix the problem. So, you know, they just keep ignoring what the problem is instead of just, you know, put out a poll. You know, NBA likes doing these, you know, player polls. Put out a poll. What will it take, you know, anonymous? What will it take for you to try and put effort into the All-Star game and the All-Star weekend? You know, we can't
$100 million.
Stop getting stupid G League guys to do the slam dunk contest. Nobody wants to see that. You know, what's it going to take to get some bigger name guys to compete in some of these things so that people care and they matter again? You know, the highlight of the All-Star weekend for me already is going to be, they announced this morning, John Tesh is going to perform Round Ball Rock live Saturday night. And that's going to be the highlight of your weekend. How sad is that NBA?
Again, this is on the NBA because they were the ones that went down the path of Team LeBron against Team Steph. They were the ones that went down the path last year of whatever the hell they did, and they included the Rising Stars in a 4-team format. They are the ones that are now going to a 3-team format where you have 2 American teams against 1 team comprised of players that were born outside of the U.S. You know where this is heading. I'm telling you, I'll tell you where this is heading. This is heading back to an Eastern Conference versus Western Conference All-Star game. Trust me, these ratings are not going to be good. Now, they might get bailed out because it's NBC, and everyone's been having their TV on NBC because of the Super Bowl and the Olympics. So maybe you get that automatic uptick as a result. But I'm telling you right now, you can solve a lot of the issues by making it the Eastern Conference against the Western Conference. And who cares if the final score is 211 to 186? That makes it worse than 149 to 146. I mean, it doesn't even matter. People are there for the entertainment value, but you have to make it make sense. When you lose me with a 3-team format, you've lost me. You got to make it understandable. It shouldn't be hard. I'm not trying to work. It's my Sunday night. Just put a game on television that's 4 quarters with 2 teams.
Yeah, that's the other thing where they're dropping the ball, pun intended, is because they're not promoting it. We kind of ripped on the NFL last week for being Super Bowl week and them not talking about the Super Bowl until like Friday afternoon. Well, the All-Star game's on Sunday.
Yep.
You're debuting yet another new format, and you guys should be talking about this all week. You should be explaining the new format, how it's going to work. Because for people that have just kind of casually been paying attention, they're going to tune in on Sunday expecting, the world versus US, just 1 team versus 2 team, another team. And they're going to be like, what the hell's going on? Why is LeBron, playing against, who's somebody else on the Jalen Johnson or something like that? They're both Americans. I'm so confused.
Well, there's the Stars team and the Stripes team. It's like, we've learned this so many times, Brent, over the years. Like when you start confusing, when you lose the plot, you've lost the plot. I mean, there's a reason why. And listen, am I a movie buff? No, but there's a reason why some of the most successful movies in cinemation history are simple to understand. There's a hero and a villain. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have success going beyond that. There's a lot of successful examples, but there's no more success than the simplistic good guy, bad guy. It's easy to understand. And that's the thing I would say about this. It's like even the Pro Bowl games, I don't even know what they're doing. I assume it's just games, so I'm okay with it. There's flag football. I'm okay with it. I get it. They're not playing football. In baseball, imagine the outrage, Brent. Imagine if baseball says, you know what? We're going to break it down now into like a 6-team format where we've got Team Japan and US and Dominican and like, stop. You don't need to do that. You just don't need to do it.
But to your point, for as dumb and as just idiotic as the NFL Pro Bowl is these days, it doesn't require explanation.
True. You're just playing flag football.
They're just playing flag football. They're playing dodgeball. You can just tune in and go, oh, okay, they're playing dodgeball. I can see that because I have eyes. Sunday, if you just tune in, like I said, you're going to be like, what the hell is going on? And
how long are the games?
I don't know because they don't tell us.
When you play 3 games, what happens when you win the game?
And is it some sort of weird round robin type of a thing?
So everyone plays 2 games? I don't even know the math on that.
This just goes back to, like I said, just bad messaging from the NBA. We kind of ripped on them about this when they do the NBA Cup, about how they love to talk about the NBA Cup, but they don't love to tell you what day the NBA, they don't love to tell you that, oh yeah, Tuesdays and Fridays are NBA Cup days. They don't tell you that. You find out when you turn it on and you see what hideous court they're playing
for the NBA Cup and who's in the stand. Yeah, you're right. In fact, I would, between the 2 events right now, the 3-team All-Star game and the NBA Cup, I would give the NBA Cup the edge. At least it's understandable. You have 30 NBA teams. The good teams go to an 8-team bracket. The best team wins, right? 8 to 4 to 2. We play in Vegas, yada yada. Okay. Again, it's new. It's probably had a level of success. I think by the time you get down to the semis and the championship, the teams absolutely do want to win it. They're playing hard. There's something in there. Do you combine the 2 events potentially? It's like the All-Star game has lost the plot. we all watched it for so long, and nobody ever in 2005 was like, man, I wish they didn't have the Eastern Conference against the Western Conference. And that was going on since like the 1960s at that point. And then for whatever reason, I don't know, is it social media? It's a new world. It's like, no, it's gotten stale. Let's have the players draft the teams. And it's completely unraveled from that point forward.
I feel like we're on a slippery slope to slowly becoming the NFL Pro Bowl, to where the guys are putting in so little effort that the only lower bar of effort that they can actually go to is by just not playing in it at all.
Right.
And just like LeBron, when he was young and still healthy and didn't have arthritis in all of his joints, when they asked him to do the slam dunk contest and he said no, he set a precedent with the rest of the league and the rest of the players
that you don't have
said,
to do
well, if LeBron's not going to do it, then I'm not going to do it. And now they can't get anybody to do it. So I think all it's going to take is for one big name player
to be
like
no
a LeBron
chance.
or somebody, to just be like, yeah, I'm going to skip the All-Star game this year and just hang out with my family. You can find a replacement. And then once he does it, other people are going to do it, because what's the point? We're not going to make any money and we don't care about the game. It's been obvious about that for the last, 10 years. So then it's going to turn into, we're going to have an NBA All-Star weekend filled with Shedeur Sanders, who are averaging 5.5. Bronny's going to make the All-Star team every year. No, we don't.
That is the last thing we need. Anyway, tune in Sunday in LA, the NBA All-Star game coming up this weekend. All right, we're back for a final segment. On the other side, we'll get into Brent's back page here until 6 p.m. This is San Diego Sports 760. We are live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, final time on San Diego Sports 760. Reminder, Brian Dutcher show tomorrow night right here on 760 at 6 p.m. So the head coach of the Aztecs will join us coming up tomorrow night. We'll have Kevin Acey. Hopefully Kevin will join us tomorrow. I'm kind of waiting on Kevin for the week for something to, happen. So I'm thinking tomorrow it could be Friday. I'd like there to be something of note, like something, a real substance. If I'm going to have him on one time this week, I don't want to have him when nothing happens. And then 2 days later, there's a story of interest. Could have him on twice, obviously, but
you could tell today that, pitchers and catchers reporting is not one of Craig Stammen's top 5 days of the year.
No, he didn't say it was. It's like Groundhog's Day, where like the groundhog saw a shadow. I mean, there's not much. The pitchers and the catchers have reported. Okay. There's not much to it. There's really not much
stretching
to it.
ensued.
Yeah, exactly. So there'll be more in the days ahead. I promise you that. There'll be more in the days ahead. We have you covered again every day right here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, let's get to it.
All right, sort of a sad back page today. We'll end with that one. Yeah, we'll end with that one. Jim would usually start with the sad stuff and then it'd get weird. So we're going to end with the sad stuff.
Okay.
We'll start with Saturday, as you probably know because you're married. Valentine's Day.
Is that this week?
Yeah.
Okay, I know. February 14th.
Yep, it's this Saturday. And Pizza Hut is leaning back into nostalgia this Valentine's Day, and they're bringing back their heart-shaped pizza that you can get. And they're also they're pairing with 2 members of the Backstreet Boys to celebrate the heart-shaped pizza, making a comeback.
Okay.
Now through February 22nd, you can get a medium 1-topping heart-shaped pizza for $11.99. They're just doing a collaboration with 2 of the Backstreet Boys. Who is it? Nick and Howie. I don't know which one of those are. We need Jim. He was our Backstreet Boys expert. But yeah, you can get heart-shaped pizzas at Pizza Hut for Valentine's Day now through February 22nd.
Is that like a heartfelt thing? Like, hey, honey.
Hey, I didn't get any jewelry, but check this pizza out. It looks like a heart.
Pizza. I mean, it's cute. I mean, it's creative. Like maybe if it's like you and your kids, like here's a couple of heart pizzas.
Yeah.
Hey, let's enjoy the time together. I mean, it's creative enough.
I think it's creative enough just for in this day of like social media and Instagram posts and everything that people will buy it just so they can take a picture of it and then they probably won't even eat it. But yeah, so you can get heart-shaped pizzas there. And we have a follow-up, which we don't have these very often. You remember, I think it was last week when I talked about McDonald's selling that caviar kit in their chicken nuggets.
I do remember that, yeah.
Well, they sold it and it sold out so fast that McDonald's website allegedly crashed because so many people because so many people showed up trying to get the chicken McNugget caviar kits. And then predictably minutes later, they started showing up on eBay for as much as $400.
It's caviar. Makes sense. It's not cheap.
But it wasn't 400. It was though. It was cheap McDonald's caviar.
Who knew you could crash a fast food website? First of all, I never think to go to a fast food like website. I guess if I'm ordering something,
well, they told you that was the only way to get it. Remember, because you had to go to the website and then they'd give you that gift card that you could go and redeem for your gross thing of McCaviar.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
But yeah, so then they already jumped up. So yeah, the Arch card was only like $25, but now they're selling the caviar online for upwards of $400.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good at $25, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm good at 400, even more so.
Yeah, I'm good at free.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
want to throw some on one nugget? I'll try it for free.
Right. All right.
And then the sad news today: Dawson's Creek star and Varsity Blues star James Vanderbeek passed away today at the age of 48 after a long battle of cancer.
That is sad.
I think it was prostate cancer, but he's been battling cancer for a couple years now.
Yeah, it's super sad. Yeah, that was really sad. I saw some heartfelt stuff on that over the course of the day.
Did you ever see Varsity Blues?
No.
Oh, that was like one of my favorite football movies.
Really?
Everyone where I grew up, we were in a small town, so we had to co-op with another town to play football. So we were the Evansville Albany Blue Devils.
Right.
And when we went as like pretty much as like a team to go watch that movie when it came out in 99, and we were all freaked out because they had the same color scheme as we did, and they got away with everything in the town like we did. To where if you were on the football team and you got caught underage drinking or something, they would just look the other way and take you home so you wouldn't get in trouble, just like they did in the movie.
I may have actually seen it. Yeah. Now that you say that.
But yeah, Varsity Blues was one of my favorite football movies. You know, he had cameos in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back that were funny. You know, he had like different roles like Rules of Attraction. So lots of things, you know, and of course Dawson's Creek. I casually watched Dawson's Creek as when I was a kid, but I wasn't super into it.
That thing was a massive show in its time. I mean, was that on the CW?
Yes, it was.
That's incredible. I mean, that thing resonated like that. People were watching the CW. Now you're going back to that was before Varsity Blues, so 90s.
Yes, yeah.
So mid 90s. It's interesting you say Varsity Blues because he was only 48, and if that movie came out in 99, he would have only been 21 ish.
Yeah.
21 years old. That's insane. 48 is way too young. Way too young.
You know, and it's always sad because, you know, he had a wife and he had like 6 kids.
Oh, did he really have that many children?
Yeah. And they were all like ranged from like age 3 to like, you know, 12.
Yeah, super sad. Super sad. So that's your ending on the sad note as opposed to Jim, who's he would do that and then be like,
hey guys, good news. Heart-shaped pizzas are back at Pizza Hut.
You even have something more ridiculous than that. Like,
it's like, no, that's kind of a train crash. It's like, now I'm all sad because Dawson's dead.
Well, let's transition to blue M&Ms. They're not going to be blue and green. Yeah, that would be Jim's back page. Yeah, that is really sad, man. That is really sad. And again, it's like sometimes when you kind of grow up with, like, you see these people on TV, they were young. Like you see young people, you know what I mean? Like they're not
especially, you know, was essentially our age.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, a little older, but it is one of those things where, you know, people always talk about seeing stuff on TV that you can relate to and identify with. And, you know, we essentially kind of grew up with him on TV just through the movies and everything else. So,
who else is in Dawson's Creek?
Oh, God.
Like in terms of the actual actress. Who were the actresses?
Katie Holmes, Joshua Jackson from Mighty Ducks, and stuff like that.
Who else?
Michelle Williams was in it the early seasons, but she drowned and then she got killed off in the season. But she probably went on to become the biggest actor. Katie Holmes did, but after the whole Tom Cruise like wedding thing,
Katie Holmes
was
also
off.
Huge in her moment. You're right.
Oh yeah,
she was massive at one point. All right, we're gonna be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Again, more reaction from Peoria. Kevin Acey will join us either tomorrow or Friday, and the Brian Dutcher Show is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. For Sammy Long, who was here earlier, and Brent, I'm John. Keep it here. This is San Diego Sports 760.